Stand my ground. All righty. Good morning. Welcome to another Saturday morning right here on About Your House. A great day in the neighborhood. We need rain. You know that? We're a little dry around this here city. And doesn't look like we're going to get much rain this coming week. It looks very sunny, mild, 70s. Not going to get into the 80s next week. So hey, that's a little bit of a reprieve. But anyway, moving to nightly temperatures on into the 60s, around high 50s. So we're still enjoying a little bit of
Yeah,
spring.
we got a little taste yesterday of some rain, just a little bit.
Yeah, buddy. Andy Snoop Bunn is in the house.
Thank you, Ray. I'm honored to be here again.
Yes, sir.
We're doing it again.
Yep. About a year ago, he was on the show.
That's right. Yeah, it's been a quick year, but it's been going good.
God, time flies, don't it?
It does. I mean, the
The
sun
older
comes up and the sun comes down every day.
The older we get, the faster it goes.
How about it?
I'll tell you what. Andy's in here. We're going to talk dogs. He is the principal behind Star Dog. Star Dog is here's the mission: providing schooling to clients. Did you get that? Providing schooling to clients in order to give their dogs purpose.
That's the mission statement right there.
Yeah, because see, the dogs aren't the problem.
The dogs aren't. It's the humans that need the help. The dogs are ready for action. They're ready for leadership. They're ready for what's next all the time. And that's why we love them so much. I mean, unconditional behavior. A dog will work for you. Any task you can teach it. And there's not many animals in the world that will sacrifice their life for the pack. But that's why I love dogs so much, because they're always there. They're always ready, reliable, consistent. And if I could be more like a dog, I think I'm headed in the right direction in life.
How long you been playing with dogs?
Oh, a long time. I mean, professionally, probably since 95, 97. I got into the game helping some clients that my veterinarian referred to me as fun. And one of my clients paid me after we trained, and I got hooked on it. And
so what did you
rewarding.
What'd you do before you did dogs? So how'd you move into dog this area?
Well, growing up out in a rural farm area, animals were all around me all the time. My family always had dogs, 3 or 4 or 5. And so as I got into adulthood, I had a yellow lab who was a field lab, and we used to perform canine flying disc shows.
Yeah, that's right.
Halftime shows. And
you were an entertainer with your dog. Well, I mean, you were.
We were a team. And, I would take her out and throw flying disc, and she would catch them and flip and do all types of tricks. And, I got hooked. And there's a whole circuit of canine flying disc tournaments and performances. And I would travel up and down the East Coast every summer and do fairs, festivals, halftime shows, and just have a great time with my dog, Keisha. And she taught me a lot. She was like my mother, my daughter. She represented everything to me. And, unfortunately, I lost her in 1995, tragically. And after that, I feel like I had a purpose. The people that I had worked with surrounded me and encouraged me to take that. And, every time you have a failure or some type of disappointment in life, you can learn from it and you can grow from it.
Well, actually, that's the best way to learn. Take it and
through failure or through hardship.
And it's the number one thing we need to teach our students and our kids too. You won't learn unless you fail.
And I didn't realize what type of purpose it had given me to train some dogs and then have a dog and have some success. And, I grew up in a teaching family. My aunts and my mom were all school teachers, my grandmother. I played basketball through junior college. So I really got into coaching. I ran basketball camps for Brian Adrian basketball here in Charlotte for about 5 summers. So I just kind of carried that on to my life. And today I try to, represent leadership. I try to lead. I try to be accountable, and it's I'm very blessed.
We were talking about leadership prior to the show. And in today's world, leaders are lacking. we have a great deficit of leadership.
Yeah, and
There, I've
it takes a long time for, speaking as a man, to become what we would say a leader would be. But I learned through trial and error, through some pain, through some hard workouts with my F3 group.
let's stop there. F3.
Fitness, fellowship, and faith.
I've had Dredd on the show, and some others, yourself, members of F3. F3. Tell everybody what F3 is. How long have you been in F3?
Since 2012.
Right.
And
So going on 12 years.
Yeah, and I was kind of lost. I'd come out of a divorce, and I was struggling with life in general. And I was what we call a sad clown. I was happy on the outside, but on the inside, I felt empty. And some gentleman persuaded me and disrupted me to come out to a workout. And so I showed up at 5:30, and after the workout, they nicknamed me Snoop, and it was the best day of my life. And we circled up and had a prayer, and I came back the next week, and came back the next week. And I've just been continuing to grow my fitness. I've got hundreds of men friends, which men need fellowship with their brothers. And I've got my faith component. It's just really increased through the years. I grew up in a church environment, but not until you're older and go through some life that you really have to tap in on the faith component. And
spiritual,
and whatever spiritual you have, just having faith in the world, having faith in yourself,
in man,
and your friends, and people sense that. And and also being transparent. I don't have any issues telling people about the failures I've had. In fact, I relish failure, because that's a place you can grow from when you have things not go your way. Or you learn by trial and error, right? And even with your tools in schools, learn how to use a hammer and the level. You may not get it right, but you have to keep trying. Never give up.
You got that right. Most kids aren't even aware of tools today, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And but I want to get back on the leadership.
Yes.
Because leadership,
we're missing that.
We're missing leadership in the male role. It's just gone.
And men are bred to be leaders.
Men are born to be leaders.
Born to be leaders.
And for some reason, and I pretty much understand what the reasons are, men aren't men anymore. And matter of fact, I was at a high school this week, and I was talking to two young ladies about the trades, tools, whatever. They were sitting there talking to me, and we're talking about men. Because they asked me, well, what can women really work in the trades? Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, some of the best welders out there are women.
Oh, no question about it. And electricians, unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, we can go on and on and on, and we were talking, and she says, well, boys don't know how to be men anymore. And I said, what? Repeat what you just said. And I said, wait a minute. So you're finding a problem with guys? She said, yeah. I mean, this was a high school female.
That's what our women are great for us. So they can call us out and identify us. And if you'll take a moment and relish your females in your life, they can, they'll tell it to you straight. And, in F3, we call that hard truth. A man needs to hear the hard truth. And I've been fortunate enough to hear a lot of hard truths about myself. And
I want to hear it.
I do too. And it's helped
because
me.
It's going to make me a better man. I want to be the best I can be for you.
That's right.
For you, not
correct.
Me.
And, if somebody gives you the hard truths, they probably love you. And, everything leads with love in this life. And
it's called tough love. If you can't take the truth with love.
That's correct.
I mean, I don't want to sit over you and pound you with brutality and bad words, but I will tell you the truth.
From a loving standpoint, you can talk to another man, and he'll understand that. Now, whether he changes or change his course of direction in his life's up to him. But men, and I'm talking for men need to hear these things. And we're so caught up in who we want to be.
Me.
Yep. And it's really not about you. It's really about everybody else. And going back to leadership and being a what I call an alpha male, you're third. You're not first. You put other people in front of you. You sacrifice for your team. And when people see those qualities and traits, they might see leadership, and um, it's just important to try to live those life values. And it takes a while. I mean, I'm 55, and honestly, I really didn't
You
know who
just
I
got
was.
started
I know.
around 50.
That's
Right.
right.
Isn't that right?
50s.
The bell, and I've told people the reason I ask everybody how old they are. Everybody. Yesterday I had 3 appointments. And I'll ask how old you are because it gives me
Yeah.
a benchmark. It gives me a bearing on where you're at in life.
That's right. And it takes a while, but I'm probably in the best shape I've ever been. My business is working at a high level. I've got love in my life. I've got two successful.
Got to have love.
I got two successful daughters who are accelerating, and so I'm just relishing every moment. I'm trying to slow it down, but I get up and praise, and I go to bed and praise, and I always am thankful for where I'm at in life, and that's the key. Once you get a big head and think you know everything, you just erase everything that you realize you don't know, and and it comes back again. Get the hard truths from somebody, but F3 will bring that to you, and we call each other out all the time, and it's important. It's important to have men that you love and trust, so they can give you these identifiers in your life you need to work on. Because sometimes we don't listen to our women like we should, and that's okay because we're all trying to learn and get better. But sometimes you have to slow down and smell the roses, right?
Sometimes every day.
Every day.
Every day. Be grateful. Live in gratitude.
I like that. And we get caught up in our stereotypical world, the status quo. We're on our phones. We're looking down. We're not looking up. And like we said earlier, we're not talking and we're not communicating and we're not touching and feeling other people's emotional state. In my dog training career, I'm always teaching my clients to slow down and walk the dog slow, because the dog is always getting pulled through stuff fast. And just like driving your car, if you're driving fast, you'll never see the beautiful flowers as you go by them. So
Right.
slow down, take a breath, relax, and it usually works out for you if you will, and just calm yourself. And deep down into your soul, there is answers there. You just have to accept where you're at in life and realize that we're all have purpose and we're growing. Even at 55, 65, 75, 85, we're still learning, we're still growing.
Yeah, but we talked about this communication thing.
Yeah.
And I talk about it every week on the show, probably every week. And why? Because it's probably, it is in actually the most important thing we do every day.
Right.
And, we need to recognize that it is the most important thing we do. Communicate.
It's the worst it's ever been.
No doubt. It's the worst it's ever been. Matter of fact, I called one of my sponsors this week of the show. Very busy man. He got his hands in, goodness gracious, I don't know how many things, real estate,
Right.
Retail, setting up franchises, selling, he's just all over the place, all over the state, and just a very busy man. And we talked, and you've heard him here on the show. He's been a guest on the show. I'm not going to mention his name because that's not important. The important part is this. I said, Mike, help me, brother. I just told you who it was. But
there's a lot of mics out there.
I know that. But he says, what is it? He says, are you finding it difficult to communicate with people and get answers and move forward? He says, Ray, it's about to drive me crazy. He said, it has never been worse. It's never been worse. And he said, in getting decisions made, almost impossible. And cancellations.
Right.
I had 6 appointments yesterday, 4 of them canceled. Last minute cancellations. Happens to me frequently now. People were too busy. This smartphone is not too smart anymore.
It could be a tool or it could hamper everything about you.
And that smartphone is in the way.
We have to get our head up and look around, Ray. Get off the phone for a minute.
Or talk on the phone. It is called a phone first.
It was originally a talking device.
And it still is. It is a phone. What is a phone used for? Would you help me there? What's a phone used for?
Communication.
And talking. Dialogue. Just like this microphone here. It's a microphone that you carry around in your pocket.
Ray is amped up, people.
Well, no, I'm just frustrated because we need to talk. People will text you. Contractors will text you for something. I got to have information. I need intel, baby. Call me. No talk, no work. That's my rule. No talk, no work.
I'm in that school with the same thing, especially in my group of my clients. You got to talk.
Well, we're going to take a break. We'll come back. We're going to talk more about talking. Okay, because
talk about dogs too.
Here's where we're going to talk dogs
leadership.
How do you get dogs to do what you're going to do with them? To communicate.
You communicate non-verbally and verbally.
Exactly.
And reward.
And they happen to be smart. They can read it all. They're dogs. Why can't we do that? We can.
We can be like a dog. We can try.
Try. I don't believe in trying. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, we're going to take a break. 704-227-8986. I got the master at dog training here, Andy Bunn, Snoop. And we're going to come back, talk dogs and other stuff around Patos and schools. Had an event this week. I'll bring you up to date. Stay tuned. More to come.
Find out more about the show? Go to our Facebook page, About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Mike Libretto here, inviting you to come in and experience Charlotte's best New York pizza and great Italian food at Libretto's Pizzeria. Serving Charlotte proudly since 2008, Libretto's pizzas are sure to please by the slice or grab a whole pie. Pastas, entrees, great appetizers, sandwiches, and wings. A menu to please the whole family. Dine in or takeout, available 7 days a week. Visit us online at librettospizzeria.com or call us at 704-714-1442. That's Libretto's Pizzeria. Stop in and become part of the family.
Go outside and take a look at your home. Are the gutters doing their job? The number one enemy to your home is water. Most homes are built with small, inadequate gutters and small downspouts. ABS Insulating has a division of the company that does nothing but gutter services. All gutter services: cleaning, maintaining, repair, new downspouts, replacement, and new gutters with many types available. They're a leader when it comes to gutter protection. Call ABS Insulating today, 704-821-4343 or absinsulating.com.
Carolina Foundation Solutions is a family-owned and operated company and a licensed general contractor in North and South Carolina, providing foundation solutions from the mountains to the sandy shores of the coast. At Carolina Foundation Solutions, our objective is to help educate, offer guidance, and provide assistance. With over 200 years of combined experience, our family of experts are ready to help protect and repair your largest investments. If you have a problem, we have a solution. Call 877-883-4626 or online, carolinafoundationsolutions.com.
Owens Chimney Systems is known for all professional chimney services since 1989, including chimney cleaning, recommended annually, chimney evaluations and inspections, any and all chimney repairs and restorations, gas fireplace and gas fire log service, furnace cleaning, cleaning out one of the most overlooked appliances in the home. Get it done right the first time. That's Owens Chimney Systems at 704-554-9595. Or you can visit us online at owenschimneysystems.com.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
All right. Welcome back. Got Snoop on the show today. We're just going to call him Snoop.
You can call me Snoop.
Andy Bunn, the name, principal owner of Star Dog Training Facility. Actually, it's a people training facility.
Training you to train your dog. All right.
Yep.
Training the human.
Training the
That's
human.
right. Leading them to lead the dog.
Right. Shiba Inu. What's the
Shiba Inu.
That's what kind of dog Frosty is.
Was definitely fluffy.
Yeah, white.
Yep.
Yeah, a little frosty.
Yep. Arctic dog.
Yeah. Vicky Samuels, just called in and said she wanted to meet you.
Well,
You're meeting him. Here he is.
Hey, Vicky. Come on over to the club.
Yeah.
The Planet Fitness for dogs.
Yeah, Planet Fitness for dogs. I went over there Tuesday to shoot a promo with him, and I went last year. And I love animals.
They love you, Ray. I mean, I hadn't seen so many animals circle around somebody. I mean, I call you Dr. Doolittle.
Well, and that's pretty much the way my life has been with animals.
Yeah.
Even cats, which I'm not a big cat fan. However,
Oh,
I go
boy.
into someone's house.
The cats like you do.
And I'll be sitting there, and a cat will just jump up on my lap, and the homeowner will look at me like, "What?" That cat never jumps on anybody, and he'll start rubbing me and purring, because I guess I got good energy, because animals can sense
another animal like Ray.
Exactly. They can sense your energy. They can sense your vibe.
Absolutely. They're way ahead of you. And, dogs look for minute movements in their human's body to predict the next movement, right? So they want to know a routine, what's going on. So they know you have to go to the restroom way before you go. They sense all that stuff, your heart rate, your breathing pattern. They say dogs can sense fear, and it's true, because when you get nervous, you tense up.
Oh, absolutely.
And, they can sense a chemical change, in a minute second. And that's why they're so great and so great companions.
Are some dogs more sensitive than others?
I think so. Dogs are bred for different work purposes, and if you understand what breed you have, you can probably predict, what type of drive the dog's going to have, what they're good at, what they're not. But through 15,000 years, when domesticated dogs came on the scene, they didn't get acknowledgement by looking good like they are today. They had to work. They had to prove themselves to the pack, and they had to make sure they were an asset in order to, eat and be a part of a team. So they started following us around and, protect us, hunt for us, really give everything they got to the pack. So every once in a while they might get some scraps, but today, they're loved by millions and millions of people, especially in this city of Charlotte. I've never seen so many dogs in my life, and that's a good thing.
Charlotte is absolutely
dog crazy.
Dog crazy. What kind of dog is this? It's a little bitty dog.
It's a little bitty dog with a lot of hair. So that could be a little terrier mix.
There you go. Look at that dog.
That's what I call a designer dog.
Well, that's why I was going, these itty bitty dogs, yappers.
They breed them smaller and smaller.
But, are they as smart as the bigger dogs? I know that's a crazy question maybe, but I'm just curious.
Absolutely.
Because I know Zeus, and Sam's probably listening. Zeus is that little dog's brother or sister, whichever. Zeus is a boy, so it'd be a brother. That's I can't remember that dog's name right there. But anyway, I had a little Yorkie.
Yeah. Yorkshire Terrier.
And they're a very popular breed.
They are. They're compact, small, energetic, but the terriers like to get feisty. They were bred to kill small rodents in the house, mice dogs. And
so that's what they were bred for.
That's right. So, and now they're lap dogs, but they live a long time. You can get 15, 17 years out of a Yorkie. And again, all the dogs are the same in their mind, right? They're pack animals. They want to be a part of a pack.
They're dogs.
They need a job, need a purpose. And that's what we teach our owners at Star Dog, how to give your dog purpose.
And guess what, folks? Once again, I got to tell this. He just said what's true about us.
Exactly.
We're animals.
And we need purpose.
We live, God put us on this planet to serve and give purpose.
That's correct.
That's our purpose as human beings.
That's right.
We're not doing that very well.
We're not. And it's a lot of me and isolation
And our technology world doesn't make it any better.
and being a singleton. What we say in F3 is singleton's no good. I'm single. I'm me. You need your people. You need your group. You need to be pushed a little bit. And yeah, we were pack animals too. I mean, I can't imagine trying to survive, by myself.
You can't do anything really. Really, you can't do much, if much at all, alone.
That's correct.
I mean, sure, you can go out and build a wall. You can go out and build a building. You can go out and do whatever you want alone,
Right.
but you won't do it as well.
Right. And you won't really embrace humanity and yourself until you can share that with other people and be a part of a group.
Because we're meant to be giving with purpose and serving.
That's right.
And and there's your dog world too.
And
that's why you love your dog, because of the companionship. And
unconditional love.
Exactly.
One of the most purest forms of love is a dog's love for their pack. And, we see that in our dogs. That's why we love them so much. And I've seen people turn their whole lives around, understanding more about their dogs and evolve as a person just because they have a dog. And, we train dogs to be therapy dogs, and we train the owner and dogs to go out into the community and serve people and visit people in need. And really, when I see clients evolve to that level with their dog, it's really amazing to see how the person changes and the dog. And it's important to be able, like you said, to serve. And in the city, the dogs don't get to hunt. They don't get to do a lot of breed specific stuff.
they're domesticated.
They are, but they can still be therapy dogs, and it's a high level of training. And you take them into facilities where it's chaotic, and schools, assisted living, hospitals, and you sit with people and you share them, and especially with the nurses and doctors. I mean, the people who attend to people in need really need attention and therapy.
They need therapy.
That's right. The beautiful woman I'm involved with now, she's a travel nurse, and she's constantly taking care of people, 12-hour shifts. And when she comes home, she smoked, but, she's done something that's unbelievable. And, if I can get a little bit of that in my life, it just makes you feel whole as a person, and like you're making progress and you're making an impact. You gotta have to make an impact in life, and you have to be an asset. Another thing, going back to my men's group, is how can you be an asset to the group? You may not be the strongest, the fastest, the most intelligent, but you can still be an asset to your team, and you be accountable. And that's really what all I ask for my team is to be asset, be accountable, and we'll work together. But it does take somebody can lead, who has a vision, who can articulate that vision and lead your team, to a goal. And, that doesn't mean you're always up front. It really means you're last.
Okay. All right. Now we did a little interview together out there after we did the promo. Remember?
I do.
About people you're working with. Okay. You talk about developing a team.
That's correct.
Team building is harder than ever. Right?
It is. And, you have
I mean, here you got a great team.
I do. And everybody's different in their own way. And everybody's in a different part of their life stage. I've got people that are my age. I've got 20-year-olds working for me. And
what do you see the biggest issue with kids coming up today? I mean, you're working with them.
Attention span, being in the moment, having your head up and looking forward, looking 40 feet ahead. And that's another thing we talk about in F3 is being ahead of things, looking up and seeing what's coming your way. But really just being in the moment and being aware of your environment and what's going on around you. And I think in the dog training world, that's important because we're dealing with 50, 60, 70 dogs a day out there running around, having a good time.
Really? That many?
There's a lot of poop, Ray. But that's good.
Poop City.
But, it keeps you on your toes. And at the end of the day, we're all tired. We go home, we sleep good, and we do it again the next day. But, dealing with dogs and animals in general, it gets you out of the human mindset, and it gives you kind of a relaxed feeling to be able to manage, train an animal. And regardless if it's a horse, a dog, or whatever animal you have with you, it's important to understand where the animal is and how they're ready to give and ready to go. And I go back to dogs all the time because, again, they're a pack mentality. They're ready to work and sacrifice for the team. And I think we should carry those traits on in our life, and it makes you feel wholesome and complete. A lot of people are missing that, but you can get it very easily, and not just through a dog, but in general, fitness, fellowship, and having faith
and giving
and giving
and
right.
serving.
That's right.
Like you said, your girl there, she serves every day. She serves fellow human beings.
I mean, nurses and doctors are unbelievable, and
and teachers
and
people. They give all for the right reasons.
But it feels natural, right? And if everybody can get involved in a little bit of that, it will definitely change you as a person and make you feel complete, or at least on the right path.
Now I've got to throw a lesson in here on this one. I once again I met with kids this week at with the Put Tools in Schools Trade Career Fair over at the Queens Grand High School. Great bunch of kids. Great. It's a charter school, somewhat along the lines of a private school, but not really private. But
Sure.
And I always ask the kids, what do we all want? We all want the same things.
What do they say? Money?
Every time.
That's right.
Money. So here we are. We got high school students. Now, ninth graders. Now, this was a golden moment for me. The ninth graders, I've been to that school 5 times. We have, not just me, but we, other companies,
Sure.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8 companies been to Queens Grant. And these kids are really embracing, the trades.
Sure.
Okay. Some of them, but here's the bottom line that people need to really embrace. People, parents, all of us, industry. You want to know what the problem is? I'm about to tell you.
Bring it on, Ray.
Ninth graders, 50 to 100 kids. Now, I get to talk to each group that comes in. 50 to 100 kids. How many of you kids have heard me before? Nobody. First time I got to them, they're ninth graders, first year in high school. And I wanted to validate that. I wanted to be sure. So none of you have heard my little spiel before, have you? Nope. Ask them the question right out of the gate. What's the one thing we all want? And we should have every day in our life to make us what we need to be. What is it?
Love?
No, it's money. To them, it's money. And I literally yelled, no! Shock them. They look at me, whoa. And I said that. And then a few of them want to start arguing with you. And then I had to say, look, we all need money. I get it. But that's not what we all want.
That's right.
We all
happiness.
Happy.
Right.
That's what we want. That's what the dogs want. That's what we all want, is happy. But we're not taught that. Now, second question. And, we got that one out of the way. This is the biggie. How many of you kids, show of hands, raise them high? Let me see those hands. How many know what the trades are? Not one kid raised their hand. Not one child. And I was like astonished. What? How many of you know what construction trades are? Nobody raised their hand.
They see them on the road every day.
Then I said, how many of you know what the word apprenticeship means? No hands. Not one hand was raised. Folks, therein lies your problem. These kids we've got growing up in this city aren't aware of the opportunities that are out there for these kids in the trades. Your business, Star Dog, is a trade.
Yes.
It's working with your hands and your mind every day, critical thinking around animals. Am I right or wrong?
You're correct. And, you're on your feet all day long. And
you're giving.
You can't sit down to train a dog. You can't sit down to manage a dog. And, we need to stand up and move.
Yep. But these children we collectively have, are not being taught how to use their hands, how to engage and be resourceful to create, imagine, and be the best human they can be. They're not taught that. And I just told you, this is not me talking. This is those kids. All I did was ask questions.
We need to get that into our school, and part of the curriculum needs to be self-awareness and how to participate in a team building.
That same group of kids I just asked those questions?
Yes.
No hands, right? Final question. How many of you are going to college? Guess what? About 90% of them raise their hand. They're trained that way.
Yeah.
There's evidence right there. That's it. That's the whole story. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree, and it could be a programmed answer because you're right. That's an easy one, and everybody's like, "Got to go to college. Got to go to college. What you going to do next?" And it's just a universal answer. Yeah, I'm going to college.
But what for? They can't answer that.
Something.
Most of them cannot answer that. They'll say, "I'm not sure yet." Well, if you're not sure, why are you going?
Yeah.
Now, see, I'm old school, and I get that. I have not been scammed, conditioned, and herded down a lane of no return, so to speak, in that college thing, because it's just crazy. I'm not saying college is bad. It's not. But in a way, it's become bad because it's not working.
Right.
When you get a college student come out of college, can't get a job, and in debt 30, 40, 80,000, whatever, dollars, and he went to college to be successful, and he can't get a job in the field he went to college for, something broke. Something's broke.
And computer science was my lead, and it didn't work out too quick. I decided I need to be outside. Couldn't be in an office.
Oh, I've heard that one before thousands of times. You got a question, Richard?
Brent said he has 2 Havanese. The male has to sniff both hands every time he sits down in a chair. Sniffs one hand, walks around and sniffs the other. What's up with that? Thanks.
Well, a dog's number one sensory organ is their nose, and their sense of smell is amazing. And they learn a lot from how we smell. And again, going back to how you sweat, how you smell, your heart rate, all these things are predictors for dogs. And so their sensory organs are unmatched to humans, especially sensing and smelling. So that's how they lead, and that's how they understand their environment around them is through smelling and interpreting their environment that way. So yeah, I mean, if a dog's not smelling you, something's wrong.
When I walked in the yard the other day, all of them come up to me, start sniffing me from toe to, they just go up.
Right. Well, they may not see your face. So, when I look at a human, I recognize you by your face, but the dogs recognize you by your smell. And that always comes first. When their owners pull in the parking lot and step out of their car, they can smell them. When I have new clients come in, we're observing their dog the first day. The dog will track them back to where they're standing just through smell. And she goes, "Oh no, they see me." I'm like, "Well, they smell you, right? They smell you." And you can't hide from a dog. You cannot, because they will search you out. But that's great. I mean, if a dog's sniffing you up and down, they're acknowledging you, they're getting information, and they're reinforcing the pack right there, who you are, and really their security. They want to know where their pack leader is and what kind of emotional state they're in, maybe what he's eat, where he's been. They can
Tell us
smell
a
all
story.
that stuff.
They can tell it all just by coming up to you and sniffing.
They can tell where you've been
and if
where
you've been
going.
around another dog,
Exactly.
another whatever.
Dogs like to mark a lot, but when they pee on something, they leave their business card for the next dog. So a dog might smell another dog's urine. He knows he's familiar with that dog, or actually, where his status is in the pack.
Yeah, that's what happens when I pee on a tree too. Come
on there, Ray.
Well,
I sniffed it coming up here. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's definitely Ray."
I'm not going to say I haven't marked my dog facility, but they know when Snoop's in the house. That's for sure. And what a privilege it is to have 30 or 40 dogs acknowledge you and love you and lead and follow you.
That there again, when I went over there the other day, I felt love. When I walk in the gate, these dogs, and what's that big white one?
Amira.
Amira's this big old Great Dane. Isn't it Great Dane?
Yes, sir.
Big Great Dane. And she comes right up to me and just literally pushes me to hug me.
She's got the lean.
She leans into you and just sits there.
Yeah.
She doesn't move. She just leans.
That's therapy, Ray. That makes you feel better right there.
Oh, yeah. She's loving you.
Dogs will love you unconditionally. They don't care who you are, how much money you make. if you're in shape or not, where you're at in life, they're going to love you unconditionally.
Oh, Mira was amazing. She really was. She just sit there and just lean up against you. And
She comes every day. She got a great owner, brings her to the club.
Every day?
Every day.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Babysitting.
Yeah.
Taking care of guys that go to school.
It's an honor, Ray. It's an honor to be with dogs. That's all I have to say about that right now. I'm blessed to do it. And
yeah, it's awesome.
To have the insight to what dogs are is amazing.
And we're going to talk about the dog trainers you work with, too, on the show here today, and much, much, much more.
Yeah.
It's Dog Day here with Star Dog, Andy, Snoop, Bunn. We're going to take a break here. We'll be back with more animal talk.
About.
Open 7 days a week to help you with any concerns you may have. Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Sundays, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can call us at 704-412-7121 or online at crowntoncannabis.com.
The professionals at Kilo Exterminating Company have over 70 years of experience in pest control. Throughout the years, they always pride themselves on maintaining the highest standard of quality and customer service, with every technician being state certified. And moisture readings are standard with every inspection. Their top priority is ensuring your home is free from pests such as ants, mosquitoes, termites, and any other pests wreaking havoc on your home. That's Kilo Exterminating at 704-333-9855 or online, kilo.biz. That's 704-333-9855.
Hi, I'm Sam Attero of AteroMedia.com, and I love empowering my clients and partners to make the most out of today's latest digital media tools. We specialize in building production systems and podcast studios for small to mid-sized churches and local businesses here in Charlotte. Do you need new media production gear? Do you need help learning how to use it? You're in great hands with our family business, Attero Media of Charlotte. That's ETTARO Media.com.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back. Got another question. What
Vicky asked, can you train a 10-year-old to be a therapy dog?
Any age, any dog can be a therapy dog. You know, they have to have the temperament and they have to have the owner willing to participate. But yes, I mean, normally we don't really start training therapy dogs until at least 2 years old when they mature. And a lot of dogs really don't mature until 2 or 3.
2 years is the animal kingdom incubation period.
I'd say so.
Well, really, the most important 2 years of a child's life is the most important
Yeah.
years.
I think so for a dog too. I mean,
Yeah.
all those things that has
It's
to
the
be there.
foundational years that
Sure.
you're building on.
When I have dogs come in that what I call have baggage, maybe a rescue dog that's a couple years old that hasn't been socialized, they struggle a little bit. But what I do with dogs, I have a collie up there this week who's 3, has never been around other dogs, and it's very reactive. We immerse them in the pack. I call it immersion therapy.
Well, I was going to ask you one of the questions,
Yeah.
to that point.
Yeah.
You get new clients. What's your protocol?
New clients come in, they drop the dog off, we put them in the pack, and we
So
immerse them.
you don't really talk to the owner the first time. You just take their dog and go with the dog, find out the dog's temperament.
Well, of course, I talk to them on the phone and work things out with them. But yeah, we want to do a meet and greet and give the dog a chance to socialize. A lot of city dogs don't get social opportunities. They don't get enough exercise. So as you saw out there, I built this massive outdoor park. So our first foundation is exercise. So we put the dog out and they run like NASCAR out there. And vigorously. And dogs need vigorous exercise. And number 2, they need to have social opportunities and meet other dogs. So we had 60 dogs up there yesterday, and those dogs met every other dog. So when they're at home walking on a leash, they have more emotional control. When they meet other dogs, same with people, right? We need the more people we meet, the more emotional control we have,
right?
And we can interact with them. And one great point about my career is I've worked with thousands of humans. And I've been able to teach mothers, lawyers, people in all types of work trades, and I'm able to communicate on their level. And a mom needs different information than a college kid about their dog, right? So teaching the human is something we really accelerate at Star Dog. We're really great human teachers, and I see a lot of trainers out there that are great at training dogs, but they can't teach the human. And they can't, put it in perspective of how the human can manage the dog. And there's 2 ways to train a dog. You train obedience, come, sit down. Then you have a management strategy. How do I manage the dog in the home? Well, crate train, have a leash on the dog, baby gates, fenced in yard, things like that. So,
but it has
managing
to
the
be
dog.
consistency as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So dogs thrive with a daily routine, and I call it Groundhog Day. Everything's the same. And dogs are always waiting for the human. But if you can set your day up in a routine with a dog where everything's the same, the dog will have a great life and feel really secure. So when the dog's reactive or nervous, they really are insecure about their environment and their pack. So that's really why we try to teach leadership with our clients, and just basic leash training. Just like you see the Westminster Dog Show, you see dogs flowing in a circle. That's what we're trying to achieve with our owners, is how to flow with your dog naturally with a loose leash, so they can be calm and be ready, for what's next. And like I said, you walk on the greenway, how many dogs you going to see? Hundreds. And if your dog's not socialized and somewhat trained, and you don't have the confidence, your dog may be reactive. So in the city environments, dogs have to be on a leash. So we deal with a lot of reactive behavior, pulling, barking, and dogs will mimic aggression because they haven't met the other dog. So that's why I said earlier, you have to slow down.
Well, I was going to ask you, Shirley, because, I've seen plenty of violent dogs, that just look at you.
And there are dogs bred for reactive behavior, and war dogs and fighting dogs was a common thing hundreds of years ago, and unfortunately it still is today. But those traits carry through the dog. But again, it goes back to exercising the dog and giving them time to socialize. Then they can actually be controlled on a leash. So and before we do any leash training, we exercise them and socialize them. Then they're easy to train. Without those components, it's hard.
Do you have any dogs come in there that are aggressive, that want to bark and growl and snarl at the other dogs?
Yeah. And we put them out there and relax, and they're fine.
So all you do is get them in the herd, so to speak,
and give them time to socialize and acclimate. And the leash proponent is really the problem. Owners don't know how to use the leash properly and have the dog under control. And when they train protection dogs, they hold them real tight on the leash, and then they threaten them, and so the dog can't retreat, and so they become aggressive, and they praise them for that. So that's how they start training police dogs. Is that you hold them tight, you threaten them, the dog acts reactive, you praise them. And so really a lot of owners are training their dogs to be reactive by restraining them when they walk. So that's our first component at Star Dog, is to teach you and your dog how to walk with a loose leash and casually. And like I said earlier, slow down.
How long does this take? Every dog different? Every pet?
Unbelievable. You're not going to believe this. We can
No,
train.
I will believe anything.
We
you
can
tell me.
train a dog and the owner in 3 days.
Really?
3.
That's how smart dogs are.
Well, it is. And the dogs are already ready. They're ready to be led. So we take the dog, we exercise them. My team works with the dog for a few hours. The owner comes in the afternoon and we give them a power lesson, a 45-minute session. And the next day we add another layer to that. And the next day we add another layer. And then on Saturday, they come to class and practice in a group, all the fundamentals. And so then the owner can start to relax, because as soon as you tense up, right, dogs are looking for little micro movements in your body. If you tense up, the dog sees that and feels that, and they become tense. So they mirror their owners. When I have people and dogs are just alike, right? Their temperament's the same. And dogs, again, their job in life is to mirror their pack. So they're secure and they know how to work for the pack. So we are training dogs sometimes to be overreactive, but usually it comes down to simple stuff like having time to socialize in a safe environment, having exercise, and then slow walking drills, and really just learning how to handle the leash appropriately. And there's all types of leashes out there. There's the long retractable leashes, which can be dangerous, that you really don't have control. There's leashes that are like bungee cords that kind of go back and forth, and that's difficult to handle a dog on a bungee leash, because you need to be able to kind of snap the leash a little bit.
So what you're doing now is giving a leash lesson to us.
We are. That's the first component of training a city dog, is being able to hand them on the leash.
And all leashes aren't created equal.
Well, we just go back to the basics: a 6-foot leash or a leather leash, because leather really works best in your hands. Nylon can kind of burn your hands, so we try to get the best equipment, which is simple: a leash and a collar. Okay, and just do drills with the dog. We do a lot of back and forth, a lot of right turns, left turns, change the direction. So if your dog's pulling, go the opposite way. When he pulls that way, go the opposite way. So you end up doing what we call a point-to-point structure. We go down and back, and we teach the dog and we praise them when they get in the side positions, left or right. Mainly the left side is a working dog position. It's been like that for a long time, decades, teaching and training working dogs to go from the left side. But city dogs need to be able to walk on the left and right. But we want to have them in a side position, not ahead of you, right? That's really not controlling the dog. Side position is a control position.
So when you're out in the city walking, the dog really, according to you, what you're saying in training, should walk beside you.
Ideally, it should be. Now, if dogs aren't exercised enough and socialized enough, a lot of people use their walk as an exercise walk.
Yes.
Dogs need to run off the leash. And, dog parks are okay, but what I've found through the years is they can be dangerous, because you have a lot of humans out there that put their dogs in the park and they get on their phone and not paying attention. And the dogs will start to posture and run, and next thing you know, you may have a dog fight. But, you can predict that way ahead of time. But that's why, again, going back to Star Dog, I built this massive outdoor park, and we go outside on Saturdays and train out there in a group. And we work on the dog coming back, getting on the leash, walking, letting them off the leash, play, calling them back, really teaching people how to manage their dog.
With other dogs.
With the dogs around, because
that's what I'm getting here. It's just not a one-on-one. You're working in a group.
What's a team effort?
With a team effort, a group effort.
That's right. And if we can get a couple hours with a dog, we can teach them, the basic fundamentals, and that gives us a chance when the owner comes in. We've already had the dog walking nicely, so I can hand her the leash or him the leash and say, look, this is how we're going to do it. And we do drills with the owner, and then they come practice in class. So we can train a dog off leash in 5 days, 3 days 1 week, 2 days the other. So the owner gets 5 hours of training. It's simple. You don't have to send your dog off for months. It's really not necessary. I mean, you need to do it. You need to find a trainer that can work with you one-on-one and have a place where you can go practice. So, and of course, I've learned this through trial and error through 30-something years. In today's world, as we've taught, everybody's such in a hurry. They have to have it quick, 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 quick. So we've got our efficiency down. But if I can get the dog for 4 hours and then have you come in, we can achieve some remarkable success in a short time. And then it's up to the owner to keep participating. So that's why I like to talk to people on the phone and have them come in and participate. Star Dog's a place for the humans to participate with their dog. And I go back to Planet Fitness for Dog. That's correct, because dogs need exercise, but they also need the humans to come in and participate. And that's really when you can really be the best handler and learn to be a great dog owner, is if you find a place you can go and participate with your dog and have somebody lead you through some of those drills. It's not complicated, but it does take commitment and participation. And, you have to be open to change, because people coddle their dogs. They have them up on the couch and on the bed all the time. And sometimes
They're spoiled rotten.
it teaches a dog, wrong behaviors. And sometimes you're reinforcing bad behaviors. You don't even realize it. And that kind of can manifest what we would call aggression. I don't really like to use that word much, because dogs really aren't aggressive where they want to kill. If they are, then there's a problem that's happened before. I see them.
Trauma. Something that's created that, just like with a human.
But you can overcome all that. It's so simple. And, that's what we teach. And, it's definitely rewarding at the end of the day when we've helped people that were coming in upset, crying, or they have a puppy or they have a dog with issues, and we help them out. So
and we're going to talk about this fact. The dogs aren't the problem.
The dogs aren't the problem. It's helping dogs with people problems.
You got it, people. And I'm going to talk about a few cases that I've embarked upon, and with homeowners, with dog owners, that I've sit back and I just am appalled.
Yeah.
I go into it, but I'll tell a story when I come back. 704-227-8986 number. If you want to text us, you can do so. You go on Facebook Live, have a question, text it to us, or send it to us in a comment. Bring anything you got on.
We're
going to talk about how do you feed, how do you sleep them, how do you bed them, how do you live with your dog. And yeah, you got it down, don't you? You know all the answers as a dog owner. And you may. It's your dog, by the way.
We always got a lot to learn, Ray.
Yeah,
I learn something about dogs every week.
There you go. Never too old to learn.
And about people.
Yeah. Most of all.
Right.
About Your House coming back your way. Hour number 2 coming up.
Grab another cup of coffee and join us for hour 2. More dog talk with Andy Snoop Bunn, owner of Star Dog. What you need to know about your dogs. About Your House is brought to you in part by PutToolsInSchools.org, connecting students to tools of the trades and raising awareness of the many career pathways. Also brought to you in part by Queen City Home Store, formerly known as Queen City Audio, Video, and Appliances. Same great store, different name. Queen City Home Store is a family-owned business serving the Carolinas for over 70 years. They're the largest independent appliance retailer in the Carolinas, and they're constantly growing and taking pride in the experience that they offer customers with a knowledgeable sales staff, product selection, and lowest price guarantee. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some time with us. And now, here's your host, Ray Terry.
All right, welcome back. Snoop's in the house.
Here
Star
I am.
dog. Yeah, let's bark.
Doggy dog. Ruff,
Okay.
ruff. Bow wow wow.
Cocker Spaniels.
An old breed, loved in the 60s and 70s. There's still a few around. We have one named Harry that comes up to Star Dog, and small bird dogs.
I went into a house one day, put a new cooktop in and downdraft. So I'm down on the floor below the cooktop there in an island.
Right.
And I walked in the house and they got a little Cocker Spaniel on a leash.
Good.
Well, it was on a leash, keeping them away from people we didn't know.
Sure.
Well, immediately, dog and we kind of clicked. I felt that dog, and the dog looked at me like,
you're a dog's dog, Ray.
Yeah, and that dog just talked to me, and I could tell. But she said that he's liable to snip at you, so be careful, Ray. Don't get too close.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm listening to the owner, and I says, we're dealing with an owner problem here. This is not the dog. This is the owner.
There's a proper way to greet people with dogs, Ray, and a lot of time I suggest people go outside in their front yard when their friends come over. It kind of neutralizes the dog, because once you come through the threshold of the house, it creates a protection mindset for the dog. And if they don't get a chance to smell you or meet you, they may take a defensive stance. And that's normal for every dog. I don't care what breed it is.
And it is normal. And I even expect that in dogs. I look for it.
Well, that's why we have dogs too. I mean, you can leave your door unlocked. A lot of people when you have a dog.
Oh yeah, you can. Well, this Cocker Spaniel stayed on the leash.
Yeah.
And I was on the floor working, and I'd overlook it. Hey, we'd talk.
Yeah.
That dog would talk.
That's right.
And we'd look at each other, dogs, and it was just dying to come play with me. And I knew it.
Yeah.
I felt it. I said, that dog wants to play. I says, ma'am, I've been here for over an hour now, and me and that dog have talked to each other. We buddies. And she looked at me and she says, now, how do you know that?
It takes a dog to know a dog.
I said, because I know it. Would you do me a favor and let your dog off the leash? And she says, well, Ray, I don't know. I said, I promise you, it's going to be okay. And she did, and that dog just come straight to me and started licking me and getting me. Yeah. We was playing and having a big old time together.
Yeah.
I said, see, I told you, this dog's fine.
Well, you were relaxed. You had dog energy. So, if you're tense, you come in, you're nervous. The dog senses it right away.
Well, there's some dogs that want to be snarl a little bit. That'll put fear in about everybody.
Well, it does, and it should. And,
that's what it's for.
It is. But if you can relax and give the dog time to adjust, 99% of the time, you're not going to have any issues. If the dog has had some proper training, socialization, and, a little bit of exercise. Again, I keep going back to those three things: exercise and social time. I mean, for us, it's important, for dogs especially. They don't get to run. There's not a dog that has a job sitting still. Every dog's job is to be moving forward through their environment, regardless if you're tracking, hunting, whatever the dog was meant to do. They have to be moving. And that's really the only way that they understand their environment better.
I've got a son that has a pit bull. And that pit bull is the most worthless dog I've ever seen in my life.
We had this conversation last year.
And I'm sorry to say it, but his name's Dingles. And Dingles, dog does not bark.
Yeah.
Never barks. I want him to bark. I love talking to dogs. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they bark and they growl, or, they've got verbal skills.
Sure.
And that's something else that I like to hear. But this dog will not bark. I've sat there and talked to Dingles for hours. Come on, give me something. Give me something. The only time the dog makes a noise is when he's asleep dreaming. Now, but there again, what does a pit bull? What's their function? I mean, obviously they're aggressive. They're big, massive dogs.
Well, pit bull is in the terrier category, and terriers were bred to exterminate varmint. And if we have a farm with varmint, we may have a pit bull. And wild boar, groundhog, they're really bred to exterminate. And that trait carries with them, where if you're a companion pit bull or what, you still have that reactive behavior. And when terriers attack a varmint, if they don't kill the varmint, that varmint could hurt them. So that's why you see when pit bulls attack, they don't let go. They lock on and they shake, but that's an instinctive behavior. That's why they can be dangerous.
Yeah.
And
Very strong animal.
And if you get attacked by a dog like that, it's not going to be good. And when I work with pit bull owners, and honestly, we don't have a lot of full-blooded pit bulls at my facility. We train them off-site a lot if we have a dog like that, because
Are they problematic?
well, they have the instinctive behavior to bite and hold, and they can react quickly. Because again, if you're exterminating, if you're out in the field working, and you have to be quick on the spot. If you don't terminate the varmint, you're going to get terminated. So again, it's instinctive drive. You have to understand what dog you have, and we've elevated pit bulls in our society, and that's fine. But again, I've seen great pit bulls, and I've seen pit bulls that were unhinged, and it really comes back, to the same principles again. Give them a place to run, exercise, learn how to handle them with authority. Not mean, but just good leadership, and give them a structure. Some of the best Frisbee dogs I've ever seen were pit bull mixes. They breed border collies and pit bulls now. They call them Staffy border terriers, and they're athletic and smart. And the power behind a pit bull is unmatched. And it really is. And their jaw pressure is just unbelievable. But again, that was their purpose in life. And, we have domesticated these animals and brought them into our house, and you have to understand, what you're dealing with. And
Gotcha. All right.
That's what we do. But
well, they've gotten a bad rap too. Pit bulls have gotten a real bad rap. Everybody's afraid, scared to death of them, and they're an aggressive dog. Not all pit bulls are aggressive.
Well,
they've got it in them.
Reactive, I think, is what I like to use. I've gotten away from using aggression, because aggression means I'm going to kill something.
Right.
And really, I don't think a dog's intention is to do that unless you're cued on it, or they get too excited, or they haven't had structure in their life and a chance to work things out in the right way. But again, it's a tremendous athletic dog, and if they're not getting out and they're not exercising and doing things purposefully, a lot of times we train these dogs to do some bite work as a sport so they can get that out of their system.
Sure.
So they're more relaxed at home.
Gotcha. Well, we got a caller with a question.
Absolutely.
We got a call from Robin.
Hey, Robin.
Good morning, Robin. How are you?
Hey, doing great there.
Wonderful.
Ray, good to hear from you, brother.
Well, good to hear from you, sir.
Hey, wanted to ask the guy there about our dogs. We actually got a German Shepherd. He's about 7, 8 years old. And several times when we go on vacation, we, put him in a kennel or put him in a doggy daycare. Well, couple times we had to call. They called us to ask us to come and get him because he's been aggressive. And then we had to make plans, try to go and pick him up. But we finally found a place down there in Indian Trail. I don't know if you're familiar, but they will take our German Shepherd, and his name is Kino, and the border collie we got, we have to send him with our German Shepherd because they get along, better with each other. But it's been, I know it's our fault too, the way the dog, but also when we have to take him to the vet, we have to drug him. And I really don't like doing that. But we took him to the Hickory Grove vet place out there on Hickory Grove, and there was one time where they tried to tell us not to bring him back because he almost tried to bite him when they was trying to, work
Service
on
him,
him or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah, service him. And it's been one thing right after another, and I drive a truck for a living, and I'm not really home enough to, to work with the dog or, whatever. But when I get in, he loves me. He loves me more than my own daughter does, I
Right.
mean, I hate to say that, but any
A
kind of
dog's love.
exactly.
That's right.
Right.
And I just wanted to ask, Is it something that you could possibly do, or whatever, or what could we? What I hate to drug him every time we take him to the vet. Even at the house, when we try to put stuff in his ears, because his ears keeps, you know,
Ear
he has to
infections.
scratch them. Yeah, exactly. And you know, even then, he'll try to even bite us. You know.
Yeah. Well, number one, going to a vet's not fun for anybody. And fear, when a dog has fear, you can expect reactive behavior.
Yeah, exactly.
And boarding can be stressful sometimes. There's lots of dogs there, and there's lots of anxiety there because they don't have their pack with them.
Right.
But
And they're not interacting with the other dogs. They're typically kenneled.
in a general kennel, you may not, but at our place, the social component is the most important thing. And like I said earlier, 99% of dogs will not be reactive if they're off leash in a group. But what this gentleman could do if he was wanting to relax the dog, he could do some desensitization type of therapy, maybe where he goes to the vet and walks him in the parking lot, or he goes in the lobby and lets the dog relax, or it sounds like he's found a facility that he can go to where they can take the dog, and having the border collie with him helps the dog function because he's got one of his pack members there. But we're really dealing with emotional state. So when you have a dog,
Trauma.
when you have a dog with the emotional state, it's different from sit and down and stay. It's really trying to give the dog time to adjust to his environment. And again, going into the vet, it's chaotic. You're in and out. Ear infections are painful. And vets have to get the job done quick, regardless of the dog. So that's tricky.
Right.
Searching out a boarding facility.
7, 8 years old. Does that come into play?
Well, sure. I mean, we all have ingrained behaviors as we get older that it's hard to get rid of. But you're dealing with a truck driver who's not at home. So when he leaves, the pack breaks down. Right, the leader left. So sometimes the dogs will take his position. And, once dad comes home, the dogs relax because they don't have to guard, protect.
They're not in control. They're
That's
not
right.
the boss anymore.
And, dogs will take that spot, especially for people who travel a lot in and out. It breaks the pack down. So, once a pack member leaves, the dog has to circumvent where he's at. And so dogs change emotional state depending on, their environment and the pack they're in. But, using treats is fine, but that's some difficult things to deal with. Even though Shepherd's the most intelligent breed in the world, but really they need a job. They need to have some type of functioning work. Some type of maybe purpose, but also again, I call them the lawyers of all dogs. I mean, they just really
Shepherds.
Yes, I mean they observe. It takes 2 or 3 years to mature, but they need a job, need to feel worthy. And, when dad's out of town working, he probably takes that leadership role. And, there's nothing wrong with that, but that could spill over to boarding issues or vets, things like that. But, being able to desensitize him somehow in those environments. But, if you found a place out in Indian Trail, that's great. It really comes down to the people that run these facilities, having dog knowledge, and being able to handle a dog like that. But, in my experience, again, going back to my dog park outside, that's where the dogs go first. They have to go out and socialize and relax, and then we can apply whatever it needs to be after that. But without that component of exercise and social time and being able to take a moment to get comfortable in the environment, dogs can be reactive.
Let me ask you this. If he's on the road, Robin, if just using him as an example, if you're on the road and you're out of town, do you have, I know you say you do a lot on weekends with people.
Yeah.
Could he possibly bring the dogs over there and do a workshop?
We could definitely work with him and help him, like I said, and it could be the rest of his family learning, some principles too, because he travels a lot.
Sure.
So whoever's at home can get these skills and start leading the dog. It really comes back to the owner being able to handle the dog and leading the dog.
Gotcha.
And give them time to relax and get used to the environment, especially shepherds. Again, most intelligent breed, they have to have a moment to observe. And understand what's going forward. If you don't do that with a dog or a person, you may get different types of behavior in different environments. But the viciousness is not there in a shepherd. They're not designed to kill or anything like that. But they can be trained to do about any job you could ever think of.
Because they're very smart.
One of the most loyal dogs in the world
Yeah,
German
they are.
Shepherds, and I love those breeds, and they'll be there till the end of time with you. You know, no matter where you're at, they're going to be there for you.
Does that help you any, Robin?
Yes, sir. It sure does. And I just
Give me a call if you
can't
want
thank
to,
you
Robin.
enough. At Star Training.
Star
Star
Dog.
Dog.
Just Google Star Dog
Star-
like I did this morning. It comes right up.
Everybody wants their dog to be a
Okay.
star.
Okay, sounds great.
Have a great day.
Thank you enough.
Thank you, Robin. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
He's out. We're going to take a break here. We'll be back with more about your house and Snoop. We're going to talk more dog.
It's a dog crazy world. Let's go.
More about the show? Go to our Facebook page, About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Mike Libretto here, owner of Libretto's Pizzeria and Spinello's Pizza. I opened my first pizzeria in New York City in 2004. Not long after that, I took my passion to Charlotte, North Carolina, serving up a taste of New York City with great pizzas and authentic Italian cuisine. Come in, relax, and enjoy Libretto's Pizzeria, located off Johnson Road in the Ballantyne area. Libretto's is also home of the famous Spinello's Pizza, a 10-inch infused frozen pizza, offered in both pepperoni and plain cheese. Visit SpinellosPizza.com for more information, to find a retailer near you, or just to order for pickup at the restaurant. Libretto's Pizzeria is open 7 days a week, a great place to relax, dine in, take out, delivery, or for catering. Visit us online at Libretto'sPizzeria.com. Call us at 704-714-1442 for the best in New York pizza and Italian cuisine. That's Libretto's Pizzeria. Stop in and become part of the family.
Whether you're building new or remodeling old, let ABS Insulating make it comfortable. ABS Insulating knows the business of comfort. Using the latest products and technology, ABS offers an array of solutions, using fiberglass and spray foam, and all installed by certified technicians. ABS Insulating has been saving energy dollars with great customer service for over 30 years. They're a leader in the industry. Call them today, 704-821-4343 or absinsulating.com.
There's big news in the Carolinas. Queen City Audio, Video, and Appliances is now Queen City Home Store. For over 70 years, we've been your trusted retailer for appliances, electronics, and more. Now, we're taking it to the next level with a new name, a fresh look, and more ways to serve you. Offering the same outstanding service you've always counted on, while bringing you everything you need for your home. Queen City Home Store. Same great service, more possibilities. Visit us at queencityonline.com.
The professionals at Kilo Exterminating Company have over 70 years of experience in pest control. Throughout the years, they always pride themselves on maintaining the highest standard of quality and customer service, with every technician being state certified. And moisture readings are standard with every inspection. Their top priority is ensuring your home is free from pests such as ants, mosquitoes, termites, and any other pests wreaking havoc on your home. That's Kilo Exterminating at 704-333-9855 or online, kilo.biz. That's 704-333-9855.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back to About Your House. Fox Sports Charlotte. Download the free app. You can stream this program every Saturday morning. Stream it live, Facebook Live, YouTube Live on About Your House radio page. We're going to be on other platforms soon. I know I talk it, but it's happening. There's just so much to do. This world of technology requires a lot of help. I'm going to tell you, it's hard to do.
But you're
it all.
everywhere. You're on everywhere. You're global, Ray.
Global, yeah, I guess. Whatever. But anyway, just tune in every Saturday morning right here. We're here. We talk about everything. Next Saturday, plumbers are in the house. Precision Plumbing is going to be in the house talking plumbing. Going to be an interesting show.
My toilet stopped up a couple months ago. I had to go up and rent a big snake.
A big auger.
Yeah, I got it down 65 feet and pulled out some all types of stuff out of the sewage, grass and dirt and toilet paper and everything, but we got it unstopped.
Yeah.
By the next morning, because we only have one in the house. So I said, I got to get this thing work. But, those things are amazing if you can do it. But knowing how to do stuff.
Oh, I've run a big auger 4 or 5 times in my place where I live. I jerked the commode up and ran it down there. And you can always tell when you got backup because it will not flush correctly.
Being able to, at 4 o'clock, go rent an auger, get your toilet unstopped by the time you open up your business, for me, was a small miracle. And, I felt inside I was happy to be able to do it instead of if I'd had to call somebody to do that, who knows when they would have came out. But like you said earlier, learning tools, learning how to do things is most important.
And acquiring the self-confidence.
That's right.
To do it because it empowers you. Once you do something like that, you have a freedom that you can't experience any other way.
It doesn't have to be the toilet. It could be anything,
right? Exactly. I was in a house yesterday, and I'm a door nut. If I go in a door and it scrapes or it sticks or something like that, I'm looking for why is this happening?
That's right.
And I'm going in the master bathroom. I'm a consultant at times. You can hire me to come look, check out things, and I was doing that. And the master bathroom door, just the hinges were loose.
Mm-hmm.
Top hinge, which made it drag.
Yeah, you just tighten it up, right?
And I told the lady, I says, see these 3 screws?
Bring me a screwdriver.
Tighten them up,
Yeah.
And that she says, is that all it's going to take? I said, that's it. And I said, doors can be adjusted very quickly. And every door in that house had a steel frame. I couldn't believe it. Very few houses I've ever been in had steel frame doors. But anyway, the thing is, all you need is a screwdriver.
A screwdriver, flat and Phillips.
Or Phillips, or, whatever.
Yeah.
But,
tighten up your doors, tighten up your hinges.
And there again, going through the house, there was a receptacle that didn't work. And I says, probably just a bad connection or something very simple. She says, well, should I call an electrician? I said, you can, but you can also diagnose it yourself. She said, can you? I said, absolutely. I can. And I hate telling people this. It sounds a little arrogant, egocentric, but I said, I can fix anything.
That's your wheelhouse, Ray.
I said, I can fix anything. She said, anything? I said, pretty much. If I set my mind to it, if I want to.
Yeah.
Now that's the freedom.
It is.
That's freedom.
Doing it yourself.
Yeah. You're not dependent.
That's right.
Upon other people to do things. And that's what we need to teach our children.
And most of the time, it's not that complicated.
Nope.
To figure
it requires what's missing, called critical thinking.
That's right.
It's critical thinking.
And as much as we're on the computer, go to YouTube. Everything on there to fix anything's on YouTube. Before I built that pergola last month, I went on YouTube just to check it out.
YouTube University.
That's right. So, and being able to read and watch, interpret, and then put the action. Critical thinking. And learning how to,
Well, let me throw this one at you. You've got a little age on you, and I got a little age on me, Now here comes AI. And now you can go to ChatGPT and ask the question, what's it take to train a dog? And you're going to get a complete answer. It might be 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages long.
I've already done it. And you know what? I'm blessed to say it's our same protocol at Star Dog. I've tested AI.
Did you really?
I did.
That's why I brought it up. I want to see you went there.
What's the best way to run a puppy class? What's the best way to walk a dog? And a lot of that falls right in with the structure we do there. But, you have to embrace these knowledge tools And there's nothing wrong with going on Chat GPT. There's nothing at all. And when I was building my overhead bars in the side yard last month, I couldn't really get to the how to figure out how to get them all the right inches apart. So my girlfriend tapped into Chat GTP. You know, I got a 20-foot board. I got 12 overhead bars, 13 of them. What's the dimensions to get them equal? And it just spit the answer out. You know, I had my tape measure and I was marking on the board and I couldn't get it just right. And dang it, she figured it out before I did.
I'll be dog.
Yeah. But we got them up and now we're working out on the overhead bars. Monkey bars. I had the kids looking through the fence, the neighbors' kids. I said, "What y'all looking at my overhead bars?" And like, yeah. I said, "Well, come on over and see if you can do them." You know, more kids wanting to get out and play.
That is the number one thing that our kids are missing today. For just like the dogs, they've got to run, they've got to exercise, they got to play. And to put a child in a school and keep them cooped up for the time they're there, how many ever hours, is just a crime.
Yeah. You know,
these kids need to run, first, especially little boys.
Why not have exercise in the morning? Then you can think, right? Always exercise first. You know, I worked out a little bit this morning before I came on the show so I could be conscious, got my blood flowing, got my mind right. And now I can sit here and talk about things we need to talk about. But it started this morning with fitness and a little bit of faith, you know, and just asking the Lord to guide me through, you know, whatever my day is, and just be open for anything. And those things help, but it does take a while to learn those traits unless you're taught them when I was young. And luckily I was blessed to grow up, you know, in a church environment. I didn't have a choice. Every Sunday I had to go to church. And, you know, I look back on those days when I was young and, you know, it set me up for success as I got older. And luckily I raised my two daughters the same way. And they're both bright, beautiful young ladies making an impact in the world. So, you know, again, a lot of us are blessed, but it's not hard to be a parent. You just be there, be present with your kids, get them outside.
Listen to your children.
Kids will teach you a lot.
If you just listen and communicate.
Just like your dog, they're watching you all the time, you know. And
they need you all the time.
You just have to be present. Number one job, be a dad. That's my number one
a
job.
Grandfather.
Or a grandfather like Ray.
Yep, I'm back in tune with my grandson now.
He knows what a level is, right?
I told you that story. I'll share this with my listeners. Last Sunday, I'm trying to make it a weekly habit of going to playing with my grandson, and when I go down there and play with him, I give him 90% of the attention for the day, because my son and my daughter-in-law, they're doing what they do. I grab Dallas and we go play. And last Sunday I was there and he says, "Granddaddy, let's go to your car." I said, "You want to see my toes?" He said, "Yeah."
Of course he does.
He wants to see your toes. I said, "I didn't bring them today, son. I unloaded my car before I went on my trip and I hadn't put them back in yet." He looked at me in total disappointment. But I opened the door. I said, "I'll show you." So I opened the door, but I had my two levels.
Yeah.
He's 3 years old. 3 years old.
Right.
I have two levels, an 18 and a 4-footer. And I says, "What's that, son?" He picked up the 18-inch. He said, "Level."
That's right.
Level. And I said, now there's a 3-year-old that knew what that level was. That you know, just now he works with his dad, my son, because my son's a mini me.
Yeah.
He does all the handyman work around the houses.
Sure.
I said houses. There's two of them. And he's around his father all the time, my son.
Mm-hmm.
And the matter of fact, in the carport there, he just put all new flooring in the house, LVP, in the whole house. Took all the carpet up and put LVP down throughout the whole house. Well, he used a power miter saw, power miter box. And Dallas plays with it. I mean, he just sits there and tinkers with it all day. Of course, he can't plug it in, this, that, and the other, but he knows how. But he
Don't
knows
let him
how.
plug it in yet.
No, he knows better. Well, anything loud too, he's a little bit apprehensive. He's too loud. Like the shop vac. He loves vacuum cleaners.
Yeah.
A vacuum cleaner he can play with for hours.
Yeah.
Hours. And but let me plug it in. No, too loud.
My dad gave me my first toolbox and it had a folding tape ruler in it. And you don't see me.
A folding rule.
Folding rule. You don't see me of those anymore.
I've got 5 of them. but Throughput Tools in Schools, a lot of people have donated some tools through the years, and they give us some tools in baskets and containers or whatever. And there's all kinds of tools, back saws, keyhole saws, folding rules. You hardly ever see folding rules anymore.
Never.
Kids come to these trades career days,
Yeah.
and I talk to them. I give them a folding rule. I said, here, can you handle it? What is this? They don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, it's a folding rule.
Yeah.
Open it. They can't open it. They can't figure it out. They'll pull it like an accordion, and I said, no, don't do that. You might break it.
You have to teach them, right? I know you do.
I know, I do. And then I says, watch, and I unfold it. I give it back to them, said, now you do it. Some of them still can't do it. I'm telling you, we got some issues in critical thinking with kids. And I test them to see where they're at. That's all I'm doing.
Right.
And I do unfold it. And I do teach them.
I know you do.
And I said, now what is this? It's a folding rule.
That's right.
But 90% of the kids can't read a ruler coming out of high school.
Takes a little while, but you can figure it out after a while.
Well, some of them do, some of them don't. But anyway, the folding rule thing, it was funny to watch them, and I'll even give them to teachers sometimes. I'll say, teacher, you know what this is? Well, it's a rule. Yeah, it's a folding rule. Can you open it?
Yeah.
They can't open it.
Now we got the tape measures you pull out, but I still have that folding rule. And,
that's awesome.
My dad gave me when I was a little kid, and a screwdriver and a flathead and Phillips head.
You got all those tools.
I still got them.
Did you ever give your daughter a toolbox?
Absolutely.
That's good, man.
Both my daughters have tools. My
Yep.
daughter has a house over off Shamrock, her and her fiance, and we built a deck last year. And,
oh yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
They were out there, and she's got a toolbox.
Yep.
Yeah.
My second marriage, I had a stepdaughter, and when she turned, I don't know, it was probably 14 or 15. I gave her a toolbox full of tools, and she says, "What's this for?"
It's for you, darling.
I says, for you.
That's right.
And you take this wherever you go, and you'll use them in life. And she does, because I talked to her mother, which we're still good friends. And we were talking. She said, "Do you realize Jessie still has that toolbox you gave her?"
Absolutely.
And all the tools, and she's added some to it. And I says, "Well, that's great."
Good.
And every kid needs his own toolbox.
Yeah.
When did your father give you yours? How old were you think?
Oh, probably 6 or 7, 5. I mean,
where were you raised? What part of
Surrey County, North Carolina, up around Pilot Mountain, Mount Airy, Andy Griffith
okay, up north.
Yep, on a big tobacco farm. And
you got any siblings?
I do. I have a younger brother and sister, and they both still up in that area. And most of my family is up in the rural Dobson, Mount Airy area.
Sorry to cut you off. What's your sister's name that lives in Pinnacle?
Samantha.
Okay, I'm gonna ask the lady that I know and see if she knows her.
But yeah, so I journeyed off. My grandmother encouraged me to get out of the small town and go out and find my way. And but I still have those roots, and still have that mindset. And I feel lucky to be able to have grown up like that. And
that's a beautiful, blessed life on a farm. Whenever I meet anyone, one story I've shared here on the air before, I went up to a $3 million house up on the lake. A lot of problems going on, with construction up there. And I met the builder, who the owner builder.
All right.
The owner builder, very OCD guy. He wanted everything just perfect, which he was over the top, which is fine.
Yeah,
that's fine. But he had a guy that worked with him that they called him the superintendent of the building going on. And I got to meet him. I went up there for questions there again, and hopefully resources for him. And I've spoke of this house before with the tile guy that I recommended, and the tile guy went up there and did all the tile work, which is a great guy, and it's turned out very well for him as well, because it's a great job. But anyway, so I was sitting there talking to the superintendent, and I says, like always, I said, what do you do? He says, what do you mean, what do I do? Well, tell me something. He said, I was raised in a farm, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, right then you told me you can do about everything.
That's right.
If you was raised on a farm, you can fix tractors, you can do welding, you can fix tire, you know a little bit about
hay.
You know a little bit about everything. He said, yeah, but then I graduated from high school, went to college. Now I'm a neurosurgeon. I said, wait a minute.
But he had some skills.
I
mean,
says, my God, you're a neurosurgeon.
he knows how to
yeah.
use tools.
He said, yeah. He said, I am a neurosurgeon. And I says, well, that tells me a lot right there.
Yeah.
You know, between farming and a neurosurgeon, I think he's a pretty smart fella.
I think so. He was equipped probably to get into that job.
Right. And
growing up on a farm, and you have to problem solve, work out of the box, and work.
Work it.
Sun up, take a nap at 11 to 2, get after it till dark.
11 to 2. I like that. That's a 3-hour nap.
The hottest part of the day, we rest up at 2, work till dark, especially during tobacco season. Every day.
So you were raised on a tobacco farm?
I was raised on a tobacco farm. Beautiful. And we took it down to Winston-Salem, you know, and went to the auction, and I participated in all those things through life. You know, since I was 3 years old, my uncle used to put wooden blocks on the tractor so I could reach it, and I'd pull the sled through the
How old were you when you first rode a tractor?
Oh, when I rode a tractor, probably before I could walk. But, you know, by the time I was, 9, 10, I was driving the tractor.
Right. You could plow a field, do whatever is necessary.
Well, I had to participate and be an asset. So in the tobacco stringer,
another tool.
I put, sticks on the tobacco stringer. My Uncle Gary hung them up in the barn. You know, then he cured it at night. We'd go down there and check the furnace at night to make sure it was on.
Those tobacco houses.
Yeah.
What do they call those houses?
Well, we call it tobacco barn.
Tobacco barn?
Yeah, yeah.
I know when I drove out east as growing up, I said, what's that? Oh, they're everywhere. Those tobacco houses.
They're all gone now. Now they're repurposed wood in people's houses. They pay big money for those old tobacco barns.
Right.
You know, and we had 8 of them, and they're all gone. You know, my
how many acres?
Oh, I'm not going to tell you. You're going to be amazed. 3,000.
You're kidding.
I got to play on a lot. And
you had more than one tractor.
Yeah, and it was spaced out. Now,
it'd take more than one tractor to handle that.
I'd say the central farm was probably about 20, 25. But, my grandfather and their family had, you have tobacco fields all over the place,
When did it go down? When did it go down?
In the 80s.
80s.
When, the small farmers, it's tough.
It's just brutal. It's worse than tough.
And the corporations come in.
Corporate America has destroyed our ag.
And they went to Burley Tobacco, and then now it's wine country up there in Surrey County. Some of the best wine places in around, and a lot of people.
Dublin's up there, aren't they?
Yep, and a lot of people go up there on vacation and go in the same farm that I used to be on, the same land, and it's wineries. But you have to keep recreating and whatever the climate brings, but. Tobacco taught me a lot. Yeah. Fortunately, I never smoked a cigarette, but, that product is still around today and, still grown, but people evolve and places do too. So
now
for me,
things
it's
are going
still
to cannabis and hemp.
That's right. So however it goes, Ray.
Well, I wish we'd get back into hemp.
We got to get back to the dogs.
Hemp. We are. We're going to talk to, I got a method to my madness.
I see that.
I got to break up against the break. When we come out of the break, we're going to talk about habits you need to instill in your dog.
That sounds good.
When do you feed them? Should they have their own bed or should they sleep in your bed? And then again, you said, that's none of your business. You're right. It's not. But we're going to talk about it anyway.
We're going to talk about it.
We're going to talk about it because, see, a lot of you dog owners don't know how to own a dog.
They need to learn some leadership. And, it's a word that's not overused, but really for dogs, they need a pack leader. That can lead them, train them, and give them a purpose. So then they can sleep in the bed if they get a good day's work in. Maybe. Really up to you. So,
well, dogs in Charlotte. It's a dog city. I mean, it's become more and more a dog city.
It is. I think that's great. When I started, there was only one doggy daycare and one other trainer that I used to apprentice under, and now it's a plethora of dog facilities, which I think is great. But
doggy hotels have sprung up all over the city.
Big money, brother. Boarding dogs. I tap into a little bit of that, but mainly, again, we're back to the training component and getting people involved. It's really where my wheelhouse is.
It's more to the training.
Yep.
All right, we're going to take a break here. We'll be back with more about your house after the break, talking to Snoop, principal owner of Star Dog, a training facility where we train people to deal with their dogs.
Training you to train a dog.
Yep. It works both ways.
Yes.
And we are essentially a bunch of dogs ourselves. So let's figure it all out.
Let's figure it out.
Come on back. More about your house coming your way.
About the show, go to our Facebook page, About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Hi, I'm Sam Otero of AteroMedia.com. Someone asked me once what I love the most about my 30-year-long career as a media producer and educator, and I have to say the fact that not only do I get to create for a living every day, but then I get to teach and help others to use the content and gear systems that I've built for them themselves. You need professional live event video production or streaming services? You're in great hands with our family business. All 5-star Google reviews. That's ETTARO Media.com.
Steve Helms here with the Al Metal Driving Corporation. The Al Metal Driving Corporation is a full-service driving company. Regardless of the problem, we can handle it. Does your clothes dryer take longer than 45 to 50 minutes to dry a load? If so, you need your dryer vent cleaned or checked. The clothes dryer is the most inefficient appliance in the house and should never take longer than 45 to 50 minutes. Call Al Metal Dryer Vent today at 704-846-8368 or online at almetaldryervent.com. That's 704-846-VENT. Have you cleaned your dryer vent lately?
Owens Chimney Systems is known for all professional chimney services since 1989, including chimney cleaning, recommended annually, chimney evaluations and inspections, any and all chimney repairs and restorations, gas fireplace and gas fire log service, furnace cleaning, cleaning out one of the most overlooked appliances in the home. Get it done right the first time. That's Owens Chimney Systems at 704-554-9595. Or you can visit us online at owenschimneysystems.com.
Carolina Foundation Solutions is a family-owned and operated company and a licensed general contractor in North and South Carolina, providing foundation solutions from the mountains to the sandy shores of the coast. At Carolina Foundation Solutions, our objective is to help educate, offer guidance, and provide assistance. With over 200 years of combined experience, our family of experts are ready to help protect and repair your largest investments. If you have a problem, we have a solution. Call 877-883-4626 or online, carolinafoundationsolutions.com.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back. During the break, Andy shared with me something.
We're back.
We are back. Yep. We never left, actually.
We did. We've been here.
He's talking about a cold plunge.
The cold plunge every
Now,
day.
he looked at me and says, "You ever done a cold plunge?" I says, "Nope, can't say that I have." But I want him to tell us what a cold plunge is and how effective is it.
Cold plunge is something I try to do every day. And when I get home from work, and I have a tub out in the garage, and we get it down to about, 55 degrees.
With ice?
I freeze blocks of ice in the freezer at night and put it in there when I get home and get it down to about 55. And I submerge myself in that for about 7 minutes. It's a great therapeutic device, but it really helps you mentally overcome something that no one likes to get in cold water. But when you get in, your body's raging you to get out, but if you can make it through a couple minutes, it's really a euphoric, relaxing type of experience. And the body emits these cold proteins, and really what it does is give you a lot of mental strength to be able to overcome something that's discomfort, right?
Yeah, cold is very. Matter of fact, I've said many times, people really don't handle cold very well at all. They handle heat much better than they handle cold.
Yeah. When you get in a cold plunge, you submerge yourself in cold water. And so your body has an immediate reaction to that. Then your body self corrects, and really it becomes almost spiritual if you're in there for a few minutes. And, some of these long days when I get up at 4 and work out, and then I work at the dog club all day, I'm exhausted. But when I get out of that cold plunge, I'm invigorated. I mean, really, it's spiritual. And I get in there and meditate, say the Lord's Prayer. I try to put visions of my grandparents who helped raise me. And so, it gives me a moment of peace and tranquility. And, I love it. And I think about it as I'm driving home.
Does your new girlfriend like it?
She's starting to like it. So here's my thing with Amber. Is I'm like, baby, we got to get a little bit better each day. And this is how you're going to do it. Get in that plunge. And she doesn't like it, but she's starting to get in there every day. Now, first time she get in there to her knees, she squeal like a baby. I mean, squeal. I have to shut the garage door. I said, I can't have the neighbors hear you over here screaming.
Yeah, right.
But now she'll get home from a 13-hour shift, and the first thing I do is direct her to the cold plunge. And she was in it last night, and she was exhausted. But when she got out, she says, I feel great. But again, it's doing something that's a little bit discomforting. But cold water will teach your body something. The blood flows back to your vital organs. Your extremities get cold, but also it's just mental strengthening to be able to do that. And it doesn't take long. And I highly, highly recommend people trying it out and trying to do it consistently.
Cold plunge.
Now I got in there in January. It was 43, and that was challenging. I got out. I looked like a lobster. Right? My whole body was pink, but there's something about doing hard things, and as simple as getting in a tub of cold water seems crazy, but I'm telling you, it's amazing.
How long have you done that?
I've been doing it pretty consistent for a year. I mean, really, and I've got a system down, and now I look forward to it. And again, it's just something that I've worked into my daily routine. It's amazing, and it really helps me be calm when things are crazy. I'm telling you, it spills over to your everyday life. And what I like about it is that you tell somebody, you're crazy. And I like that because I'm doing something that is difficult at first, but it helps.
I understand.
Yeah.
It's a mental discipline.
And you can get them right off Amazon, a little tub, and you fill it up with water and put a little splash Clorox in there and keep it sanitized. And it's great.
You keep your same water for a week or whatever.
Yeah, then we empty it. But, it's just available. And again.
And you're not in there but, 7 minutes?
You don't really have to be in there but 4, but I like to go a little bit long, just to see if I can do it. And, you get into the shivers, but your body's amazing. If you breathe, your body will warm you up, even in, cold water. It's amazing. It really is. And it just goes right in line with stuff that I like to do purposefully is hard, do hard things and they suffer a little bit. And the end result of that is you'll be stronger mentally and physically, and you'll be able to handle the stresses of life. Hell, even driving to work, people are amped up, crazy.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Driving in this town's gotten worse.
I mean, you know what it is. But again, and it goes back to dogs, again, trying to really mimic a dog's life of sacrifice, compatibility, working as a team, working with the pack, being loyal, being committed, all those things I try to mimic. And a lot of it, I've learned so much about how dogs behave. If you can be a little bit more like your dog, I think you're a little bit better.
Right.
And dogs love you no matter who you are. Like I said earlier, they don't care how big you are, how small you are, how much you weigh, what you are, what nationality you are, what your belief system is. They love you. And I think that's a great way to lead and live.
Absolutely. No question. And we can learn a lot from them.
That's right. And, working with people and their dogs, they learn a lot about themselves. We have people that come in there who are nervous or reserved. And by the time you teach them to handle their dog, you have a new confident person and a confident dog, because dogs mirror their owner's behavior. If I have a person who's a little bit nervous about social anxiety, the dog's the same way. And so you train them together, and all you see a confident person, or you have a dog who's really amped up the owner's the same way. Amped up, fast talking, fast moving, and that's when we slow them down. So it depends on the person and the dog. Sometimes we speed them up, sometimes we slow them down, but really we try to get them connected,
Gotcha.
So, but dogs can be protective if you're fearful. Dogs can be relaxed, like a gentleman earlier, German Shepherd. He's out of town. The dog gets amped up. He comes home. The dog's fine because he's got his master there. So,
The leader.
and it's easy to take that role. In fact, dogs want it, and people do. Isn't it great to have a great leader on your team? It just makes it so much easier for you to work.
I wish
and
I
do your
had
job.
one.
You yourself, you're a leader yourself, right?
Well,
you lead yourself.
yeah, but it would be nice to have other leaders. That's what I alluded to earlier.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We all really want to have leadership around us. I
Yeah.
do. And that's something I try to instill in youth.
Yeah, and people ask me, what type of dog should I get? And I don't really have an answer for them there. Now, you can get a small dog if you live in a small environment, or you can get a big dog if you live in a big environment. But really, just having a dog is great. And the fundamental training for every dog, small or large, is the same. But you have to home into the dog's characteristics and the person. And I have to know what the person does, where they are in their life. And that way I can structure our training towards that individual person. And that's, I think, having years of experience. Like I said earlier, I can train moms with kids. I can train high school people, college kids. I can train lawyers and doctors. It's really hard to work with them because they're so busy and they want stuff given to them very distinctly and quickly. They want the information quick. They want to process it and apply it. So, it's interesting working with all types of people. The dogs are on a constant flow, same techniques. The humans are the ones that you have to work with. And going back to coddling your dog, having them in the bed, on the couch, I think that's fine if the dog can earn it. But people usually touch and talk too much to the dog. So when they come in, I'm just like, don't say anything, don't touch your dog. When he gets in the right position, you say, good boy, right? So we're just talking and touching our animals too much, and it really confuses them. So the thing about dog training is you have to be stoic and quiet and let the dogs trying to figure it out. And so we don't do any correction based. We're not saying no, we're not jerking or yelling, but we're patient with the dog. You're patient with kids, right? You give the dog time to evolve. And as soon as he gets in the right position, you praise the dog. And then he understands how to repeat that because they want to please you. The dog is there to please the master, work for the master. So those types of concepts is really what we work on with people. We're not so focused on, how to use a treat correctly, but really it's how to handle the dog and relax. And like I said earlier, flow with the dog, right? Every dog walks a different speed.
Well, actually, that's what we as humans need to do with life. Let it flow.
And having a routine for your dog. We talked about it earlier, feeding, a regimented schedule, a Groundhog Day routine is great for dogs, having a safe environment and then give them an outlet so they can feel purposeful. All those things work with every dog. And we can adapt that to what type of environment you live in or what schedule he is. But dogs need a routine, and I think I work best when I'm on a routine, and I've developed a great routine in life now. And as long as I stay on it, I'm calm. And the same thing with dogs; they need to have a predictable future ahead of them. They need to know what to expect, and it's not complicated. It's really simple to do that. You just have to learn a few basic concepts and repeat it. Repetition, right? Anytime you learn anything, you repeat it, you learn, you apply it, repeat, learn, apply, repeat. And that's the same thing with dogs. So, we may do the same drill 75 times, down and back, down and back, down and back. But pretty soon the dog already understands how to walk beside you. And as soon as he does, you just praise him. So, in our society, we do touch and talk and coddle our dogs a lot. And so I help clients kind of turn that into leadership. And you can still do those things. But the dog
it's the way you do it.
And teaching a dog boundaries, just like kids, right? What's the boundaries? What's your territory? And controlling the dog in your space that you're in. The dog's jumping, barking, yapping, out of control. Then, put the leash on the dog and make him stand beside you. Like Mom used to say, Andy, get over here and stand beside me, young man, right here for 2 minutes.
Right.
And, we do that same drill with dogs. I do a 10 count or a 1 minute stand position. Just stand there and let the dog observe. Because again, going back to the shepherd and all dogs, they need a chance to observe what's going on in their environment. We're moving too fast. The dogs don't get time to adjust. And next thing you know, they become reactive or really unpredictable. You don't know what behavior you're going to get, but it usually comes back to how you're handling them and really give them time to adjust their environment. Because again, their sensory organs, their smell, their hearing is just so much more advanced in humans that they're way ahead of us. They can smell and hear things that we'll never even understand.
Right.
And it's pretty remarkable to harness those components with your dog and see them in action. And then they're happy, and then you're happy.
I get it.
Happy, right?
Happy. They're no different from people, are they?
They're no different, and they're joyous to start with.
There
just
you
like
go.
Kids.
I just noticed something. I didn't bring my phone in here today.
Darn it, Ray. What are you going to do? You don't have your phone?
No, the proof's in the pudding. You don't really need a phone to operate, do you?
No.
You hadn't picked yours up one time?
I hadn't picked it up.
I hadn't picked mine up.
We're talking. We're communicating.
We're communicating, but I did not bring my phone in today. So if you've texted me or called me today, well, sorry. Left my phone in the car.
We'll text you later.
Yeah, we can get it later.
Yep.
All right, no problem. Let's come back and talk about, summer's coming up. Summer, hot, heat. How do dogs handle the heat?
Good question. Let's cover that.
And we need to talk about that. We need to talk about feeding habits too.
Yeah.
We need to talk about watering. Getting back down to
all the basics.
All the basics in dog training and dog ownership. When we come back, we'll wrap the hour up, third hour coming up, with facts.
Dog facts.
Dog facts.
Dog knowledge.
There you go. Come on back. We'll be here right here on About Your House, Fox Sports Charlotte. Tune in every Saturday morning. We're here.
Hour number 3, Ray continues his discussion with Andy Snoop Bunn, owner of Star Dog. What you need to know about your dogs, plus tips on dogs and valuable information coming your way. More dog facts. About Your House is brought to you in part by Queen City Home Store, formerly known as Queen City Audio, Video, and Appliances. Same great store, different name. Queen City Home Store is a family-owned store serving the Carolinas for over 70 years. They're the largest independent appliance retailer in the Carolinas, constantly growing and taking pride in the experience they offer customers with a knowledgeable sales staff, product selection, and lowest price guarantee. About Your House is also brought to you in part by PutToolsInSchools.org, connecting students to tools of the trades and raising awareness of the many career pathways. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some time with us. And now, here's your host, Ray Terry.
All right, welcome back. Hour number 3 on About Your House here. Been a great show so far. A lot of facts. Let's plow this third hour up with some facts about dogs and what you need to know or what you don't need to know, whatever. But the point,
You don't need to know a lot about dogs.
you
That's for
drink
sure.
some coffee, don't you?
You know, I'm stuck on this nitro brew now. I was drinking hot coffee. Now she's got me stuck on nitro, which is a little bit of cream in there. Does you right. Just
Yeah.
a little sip.
There you go. Summer's coming at us, and dogs aren't like people when it comes to heat, are they?
You know, dogs are different. They don't sweat and perspire like humans. They perspire through the pads of their feet and through panting. And so, you know, having a cool surface, a cool area is great for dogs and water access. And at Star Dog, we've got probably 25 water accesses, and we've got what I call the redneck pool, which is an 8-foot galvanized steel tub. And we fill that thing up halfway, and the dogs are in it all the time. But it's remarkable that dogs can function in 90-degree weather with a full coat. And, you know, the dog's coat is there to keep them cool and keep them warm. And as long as you take care of their pads on their feet, and there's a lot of asphalt in Charlotte, so we recommend a salve that I call a Musher's Secret. It's what the Iditarod sled dog handlers use on their dog's feet, and we apply that to the dog's feet, and it helps them, you know, they condition their paws to be soft, but also function like they should, be able to perspire and absorb through that. But a dog's pads and their toenails need to be managed and taken care of really well, especially in a city environment where there's a lot of asphalt and reflective heat. And of course, water excess, obviously that. But you know, if you're using a crate, and take that heavy blanket out and give the dog a cool place to lay on, like the tray. You know, I see a lot of home dogs laying by the vent just to stay cool. So, you know, that's signs that dogs need cool places to stay. And a lot of times when I go to people's homes, I'm removing a lot of this heavy stuff out of their crate or lay areas so they have a cool place to lay.
Let's go into that. You talk about the crates, so no big blanket or whatever they need to. I mean,
a lot of people in general just fill up their crates with bedding and toys and all that, and the dogs push that away to be able to lay on the cool surface underneath it. So, you know, that's really what a dog likes to help them cool their body down is have a cool spot to lay in. I think bedding and blankets are fine to have, but you know, you just want to make sure they have a space where they can lay down. Sometimes we run a fan, you know, at the crate if you're using, and crate training is great. If you can train your dog to be comfortable in a crate, then it helps them have emotional control, so they can go in there and decompress. Especially
share space,
especially breeds like bird dogs, you know, hunting dogs that were really bred to just move all day. They really need a crate or a place that they can go and shut off, because when they're out of their crate, they're moving and working and their mind's spinning. So the way to shut that off is to put them in a safe environment where they can relax and take some of that stimulus away from them, so they can kind of, like I said, decompress, revamp, and be ready to go. But, you know, German short-haired pointers, bird dogs in general, herding dogs, you know, even beagles, you know, hounds like that, their body and mind is just always going. So having a place like a crate, or even, you know, a mud room with a baby gate, you know, a space where they can go. If you have a lot of kids running around, you know, it's important to give the dog a place where they can go and feel safe and not have a lot of stimulus coming at them. So, you know, I highly recommend crate training, especially if you want to board your dog with somebody or somewhere. If a dog's crate trained, they can function better emotionally if they understand.
In other environments.
Right. So again, emotional state of a dog's different from training. So, you know, a lot of reactive behavior, anxiety, aggression comes from a dog not having emotional control. And so you see dogs in the city, again, walking on tight leashes and acting reactive because their emotions are they can't control them. That comes back to having a good foundation of training, so you can lead the dog through its life, through the greenway, you know, all around the city, and the dog have ability to handle himself. In our therapy, dogs go in the hospitals where it's crazy, go in the hospice. We go to psych wards. You know, they've shut down all the psychic houses now, and they're all in the hospitals, and they need help. So, but we can go into these psychiatric wards where they say, don't go in there. And we take the dogs in there, and the people change. We have a man that hasn't spoke in 3 years. He's in the psych ward at Presbyterian Uptown.
How often do you do this?
Well, I have 46 dogs on my therapy team. We certify 2 groups a year, and then they go out and do community service.
Have you got a team?
Yeah, it's called Paws for All Therapy Dogs.
Paws for All?
Yeah, Paws for All Therapy Team. And we certify them right there at Star Dog. Lisa, who works for me, she's a national evaluator. I met Lisa and interviewed. That's
okay,
right.
That's Lisa. Okay.
And so, but anyway, Daisy's a little Springer Spaniel. Her mother goes into the psych ward because she works in that industry. And the man gets out of his chair and comes over and sits down with the dog. And 5 minutes later, he's talking to the dog.
Hadn't talked in 3 years?
Hasn't talked. And the nurses are like, I can't believe this. Every day, every week she goes in there, he comes over and has a conversation with Daisy, the Springer Spaniel.
Really?
And looks her in the eye and holds her face and just talks to her like his mom. And it's changed the man's life. And now they're wanting to get a dog in the psych ward permanently because it opens people up, right? We go into
love's amazing, isn't it?
Here's something that really interesting. We go into a dementia unit.
Wow.
Where people have dementia, right?
Right.
There's 2 things that can bring a dementia patient back: music and animals. And I've had dementia patients tell me about their dog that they have forgotten. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, I have Sparky and he was a good boy. And they're like, we haven't even heard her say Sparky in years. And so dogs can connect with people that had trauma or people with memory loss or anybody, and because dogs will give you attention, unconditional love. And once you touch a pet or touch a dog's fur and they give you attention, it really changes your emotional state as a human. So it's really calm and relaxing. So I used to have a Jack Russell, and I went into a hospice, and there was a young man there with a family. He'd had a motorcycle wreck. He was brain dead. And the mom and the girls were crying. And I went in there. This was a big moment in my life. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, what I'm going to say. And I went in with my little dog, BB. And you know what? I didn't have to say anything. I just stood back.
BB took care of it.
She went over to the kids and the mom. They were crying, but they were laughing at the same time. And I took the little dog and I set her on their dad's bed. He was brain dead. And I took his hand and put it on top of BB for the kids. And I was like, he's petting your dog. And they were just all, it was an emotional moment for me and the people. But I realized that it's not me, it's the dog. I just stood back and let BB do the work. So our therapy dogs go in, and our job is to make sure the dogs are safe. And I watch the team make sure the team's safe. And the dogs do the work. And people change immediately when they pet a dog. They become something else. They become relaxed, spiritual, happy. And when I heard the story about the man talking, it didn't surprise me. But the people in the psych ward were amazed by it. And so Joy, my dog's named Daisy, she goes every week to see this man. And he doesn't say hardly anything, but now he's talking more in the facility. And it all started with the interaction with the dog.
With a dog. It started with that dog.
Yeah. And there's not a dry eye in the house, when you go in these places and you see what happens with people. And when we go in to the senior assisted living places, some of these places we go into public facilities sponsored by the state. And we have patients that have been there for 13 years. Right. And they don't have their family. And we go in, spend time with the dog. And they open up, and we have people, who are just upset and mad, and you go in with the dog and their whole energy changes. And so that's a working dog. Like I said earlier, we may not be able to hunt dogs here in Charlotte, but we can teach them to do therapy and interact with people in a controlled environment. It's not just like letting your dog run up to somebody and jump on them.
And those dogs feel that.
They have a purpose. We put a working harness on them before we go in.
So you harness them.
We have a working harness, which has a handle on the back. We train them on their neck.
Okay.
So we have a harness on them. So when they put the harness on, it's time to go to work.
They know it.
That's right.
Oh, they put my uniform on.
That's right. So again, it goes back to this condition training. Then they go in and you teach them to avoid the trash cans, not eat food on the floor, not jump up on people, but to go up and stand. You lead the dog over. You go say hello. You put the dog in the petting position. So the purpose of therapy is to put your dog in a position so somebody can interact with them. Sometimes the dog has to put their paws up on the bed. Sometimes they have to go low. It just depends on the person. And so that's how I've found my purpose in dog training in Charlotte is to train these high-level therapy dogs. And so it's an extension of me to see my team go out there and visit. We go to Myers Park High School, and go to East Meck.
What do you do at the schools?
Well, we go at lunchtime during
Cafeteria.
Exam week, right?
Okay.
So we go into the courtyard. All the kids come out and get a little dog time. Yeah, maybe they do better on their test. We go out to UNC Charlotte. We got one that goes out to the airport, where people are just stressed out. And Jake, he's a golden retriever. He goes out to the airport and just stands there. It says "Pet Me" on his side, and people are just all over him. But you know what? For a minute, they can relax and spend time with the dog.
Golden.
The golden retriever named Jake.
Oh, I love Golden.
He's amazing. So, that's the beauty of
Did
a
I
dog.
meet Jake the other day?
I don't think you did, but, we did have a lot of golden retrievers.
There were some Goldens.
That's a popular dog, Goldens, Labs.
I had a Golden one time.
you know,
Absolutely great dog.
Doodles now have been the rage for 10 years. Every other dog's a doodle, and they breed dogs with poodles because poodles have hair. They're non-shedding.
I was going to say, allergenic wise, a poodle is a
well, like I said, a poodle has hair, and them dogs that have fur shed, and so they can really disrupt people's allergies. But if you get a poodle, you don't have to deal with that type of stuff. And so now they're breeding poodles with other dogs, and they make doodles. This year the popular dog has been Bernedoodle, which is a Bernese Mountain Dog and poodle. And a Bernese Mountain Dog is about 120 pounds. They breed these Bernedoodles down to like 30 pounds. So it's amazing to see what the breeders do out there with these dogs. They're micro. I call them micro dogs, right?
Little versions.
Yeah, but they're still the same dog, right? But they have the poodle coat. And so they're groomed differently, they're combed differently. And, again, going back to the allergy component, it really helps. But doodles are all the rage. So, you have three most intelligent breeds. You have a Border Collie, you have a German Shepherd, and a Poodle. That's probably the three most intelligent breeds. And all of them were working dogs, right? All these dogs had jobs.
Especially Border Collies.
That's right. Herding livestock.
Man,
right?
Border Collies are hyper dogs.
So you can give a Border Collie 3 commands, and he'll go out and execute 3. If you got 2 Border Collies, you give them separate commands, they can go out and work together. It's amazing. And it's all instinct. But we've bred these dogs through thousands of years to do certain tasks, and it's always going to be there with that dog. Regardless of what breed you have, he has a working purpose. So we tap into that in our training. A lot of it is teaching the owners what you have. This is what you have.
This is what's instinctive to that dog.
That's right. This is what the dog needs, exercise-wise, how to fulfill the dog's need. And it really is different. And I think with years of experience, I can tap into that really well. And for me, again, I'm trying to help the dog by helping the people. I love dogs so much. They've given me so much fulfillment in my life. And everybody here that we're talking to and listening has the same experience with dogs. And they always want to make them better. And that's how you can do that, is really learn how to lead them, how to train them, how to give them a purpose, a job. And a lot of dogs have a job. They go out and get the paper. They get fired up when the mailman comes. That's their job. But if you don't like that, you can redirect it to some other purposeful work. And therapy is just a great way to extend my clients and give them ability to, step up one more level with their dog and become a team and really make an impact in society.
And they have seen it too. It changes the owners' lives too.
It changes owners' lives. And that's what really makes me happy, is it just takes them across another bridge with their dog. They didn't know.
Elevates them another notch.
They didn't even know. When I meet these owners when they're young, I'm like, your dog's going to be a therapy dog one day. They're like, I don't know. 2 years later, they're out there in the hospital making a difference.
Loving people.
It's amazing. It's such an honor for me. I'm honored to be able to, be a part of that. Just a little bit.
Great work. Great work. Great work.
Don't get me emotional, Ray.
Well, why not? Men can cry too,
I can cry.
Boy, I cry at least. I cry every week. I need it. I'm in so emotional.
Men need to tap into their emotions.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Big time. It's okay to cry.
And we do a lot of after we talk about our emotional state. And,
yes, sir.
It helps.
Yeah, and it's definitely something men should address.
Men don't always have to be strong and stoic.
Exactly.
There's an intimate side to us that we have. And
sure
I think
is.
That's important.
Absolutely. And that's one thing I can say. I told my son just yesterday, son, when's the last time you cried? What do you mean? That told me the answer right there.
That's
what do
right.
you mean?
Been a while.
Been a while. I said, you ought to try it sometime.
Yeah.
Well, why? What?
Yeah.
I says, you need to occasionally.
It can help you. It can help you, calm yourself. And
it's emotional outlet. Man, essential.
Yeah.
For me, anyway.
Yeah, me too.
All right, we're going to take a break here. We'll be back. Talk about how often you feed your dog. What you feed your dog.
It's important.
We're going to talk about it because a lot of people aren't doing it right.
Table scraps is probably not the answer anymore.
We're going to talk about it. Come on back. Right, more about your dog on About Your House.
About the show, go to our Facebook page, About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
John DeLand here, manager at Crown Town Cannabis, Charlotte's original CBD and hemp resource, where the staff can help you with any questions or concerns. All of our products are third-party tested for purity and quality. Oils, edibles, Delta-9, topical creams, vapes, THCA flower, and products to help with the pets. Visit our new South End store at 115 Park Avenue in the South End. All 4 of our Charlotte area stores are open 7 days a week. Check online for the store near you. That's crowntowncannabis.com.
There's big news in the Carolinas. Queen City Audio, Video, and Appliances is now Queen City Home Store. For over 70 years, we've been your trusted retailer for appliances, electronics, and more. Now, we're taking it to the next level with a new name, a fresh look, and more ways to serve you. Offering the same outstanding service you've always counted on, while bringing you everything you need for your home. Queen City Home Store. Same great service, more possibilities. Visit us at queencityonline.com.
Hi, I'm Sam Otero of AteroMedia.com, and I love empowering my clients and partners to make the most out of today's latest digital media tools. We specialize in building production systems and podcast studios for small to mid-sized churches and local businesses here in Charlotte. Do you need new media production gear? Do you need help learning how to use it? You're in great hands with our family business, Atero Media of Charlotte. That's ETTARO Media.com.
The professionals at Kilo Exterminating Company have over 70 years of experience in pest control. Throughout the years, they always pride themselves on maintaining the highest standard of quality and customer service, with every technician being state certified. And moisture readings are standard with every inspection. Their top priority is ensuring your home is free from pests such as ants, mosquitoes, termites, and any other pests wreaking havoc on your home. That's Kilo Exterminating at 704-333-9855 or online, kilo.biz. That's 704-333-9855.
Libretto's Pizzeria was established in 2004 in New York City. It's located in Charlotte on John J. Delaney Drive in the Ballantyne area. Serving up authentic New York pizzas, a full Italian menu. Come in casual, hang out, and relax. We offer dine-in, takeout. You can order delivery. We could also cater your special event. Libretto's has got you covered. I am Mike Libretto. We are also the home of Spinello's famous infused take and bake pizzas. Visit us online at librettospizzeria.com and spinellospizza.com or call us at 704-714-1442.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
Ready. All right, welcome back. Let's talk more dogs. Well, Brent texted a question to us. So
yeah, Brent commented another question for Snoop. Is it true Havanese were bred to herd chickens in Cuba, or is it an old wives' tale? He's curious.
What is known about the little white dogs were brought to Cuba from Europe in the 17th century, adapted to the climate and customs in the islands, and produced a small dog with silkier coat. So I do see Cuba in here. I thought maybe they were more of a lap dog is what they are now, but they certainly probably did have some type of purpose.
Well, you said every dog's had purpose.
That's right. That's right. But surely probably could. I mean, why not? That's a small dog. Probably be great with chickens, but
herding chickens.
How do you do that?
I never heard of such a thing. But but I guess chickens need to be herded. in
I
some
guess so.
situations.
Yeah, I mean, I think any type of farm animal probably can be herded and needs to be herded at some point. But
Right.
I would not doubt that a Havanese has that skill. I mean, they're fast and quick and bright and smart and ready for action. So, why not train them to do that?
Gotcha.
So, I mean, like I said earlier, every dog in this atlas of dog books here, the only way it could bond and be on a human family is if it worked and made itself an impact, with the family. It's not because how it looked or how it done in the Westminster Dog Show, which today, these working dogs don't get to work. It's really about how they look and how they're bred.
Right.
But, in the olden days, they had to make themselves loyal and make themselves an asset to the pack. Otherwise, they're going to get left behind. So,
Right.
Why not have that Havanese out there? But, I've made them therapy dogs now. And, again, they're comfort dogs. I like to say that, a Havanese is a great lap dog. It's probably be a great alarm dog, which can alarm you. And then just to feel their fur and have them sit on your lap, it's just amazing. And,
Great therapy dogs.
And a small dog's easy to travel with. Obviously, it can live in smaller environments easily, but, dogs are ready to go anywhere with their owners, regardless. But, there are advantages to having a small breed. Sometimes there's advantage to having a big breed. It really just comes down to the person.
My brother had a dog most of his adult life. Most of them were pugs, I guess, or what do you call them, Boston Terriers, or
Boston Terriers, yeah.
But he had one, and
have short snout.
Well, and wherever he went, he took his dog. He went to work every day. He took his dog.
What a great life for the dog.
And everybody knew Pudge. Pudge was his name.
Yeah.
And everybody knew Pudge because when I mentioned Dale, he said, "How's Pudge doing?" Well, Pudge passed, And but my question to you is, that's good for dogs, isn't it? I mean, if, for example, the only way I would have a dog personally is if that dog was a part of me.
Absolutely.
In other words, when I came to see you the other day, the dog would be in the car with me.
Absolutely. I think that's the best
And
way
when
you
I
can
went,
do it.
when I went to work every day, I'd take my dog with me.
Absolutely.
And so that's a cool life.
Yeah, I mean,
for a
it may be
dog.
difficult for people to take their dogs to work now, but yes, dogs are lifelong companions. Wherever you go, the dog goes. And the best trained dogs are the ones that go everywhere with their owner, and they get conditioned to be in any environment. Whether it's walking through the airport, Walmart, taking a ride, wherever you go, the dog can adjust anything if he has a chance to experience these things. But yeah, the dog is confused when you leave because the pack breaks down. Just like earlier, we were talking to the German man with the German Shepherd. When he leaves town, the dog's personality changes to more protective behavior, right? So staying with the pack is the most rewarding thing for a dog at all times. In fact, we have to train and condition our dogs to stay home alone. And that's why, fortunately, places like Star Dog and other daycares are there so people can bring their dogs to the club during the day and have exercise and stimulus and social time. That helps the dog function emotionally better in a city environment. So out on the farm, we let the dogs run, right?
No leashes.
Feed them by the back door at night, whatever's left over for dinner. Now we have, precision prescription dog foods for our dogs. I mean, we have these all types of vitamin supplements and everything you can believe.
Dogs have become big business. Pets.
Billions and billions and billions.
Big business. And now here we go. Okay. The dog stores, they're loaded, and nothing's cheap anymore for
It's
dogs.
not.
Nothing. So now feeding dogs. Let's talk about feeding.
Feeding. Well, dry kibble is probably the most popular thing to feed a dog. And I think when a dog eats dry kibble, it helps her clean their teeth, helps keep them, healthy. If you get a nice breed of dog food. If you want to mix some soft food in there, that's fine too. But I really like dry food and water. And I just like simple feeding times. Maybe give the dog food available for 10 or 15 minutes in the morning, maybe 10 or 15 minutes at night. I recommend taking the food up if they don't eat it. And that, again, makes the dog really get more on a routine of eating it when it's down. Labs eat everything. And, you have to take food away from them. They'll eat a whole bag of dog bag of food. But, routine, with the dog. A couple feedings a day, maybe puppy 3 times. And as the dog gets more of a senior, you can cut that back to once a day. But we're giving our dogs a lot of treats in between food, and some of these treats aren't that healthy out there. So if you are looking,
what is a good dog food? You said dry food with water.
know what? There's so many types of dog food out there. It's hard to recommend, but you really just have to be mindful and look at the ingredients. But the last dog I had didn't do well with chicken, so a lot of dog food has chicken in it, and I went away from that and did more of a salmon, fish type of protocol for my Rottweiler I had for years, and that worked with her. But some of my clients use real food, so they'll cook chicken for their dogs and make it themselves. So I have clients to do that. It's a lot of work, but you can buy high-end dog food online. They'll ship it to you.
Right. Yeah. I've seen it.
So really it comes down to what your lifestyle's like, what your routine's like.
What about table scraps?
When I was a kid, after a meal, Mom would put all the scraps in, and I'd take them down to Queenie, who was our St. Bernard down there in the pen. That's what she ate, scraps. But I mean, in today's world, the health of dogs is really important. And, I think feed them a consistent dry food and water diet is probably best for their intestines. And what I see with a lot of people is they're giving their dog so many treats and various types of food, it wrecks their digestive system. And they have loose stool or diarrhea or, digestive issues in general.
Well, just like with animals, their poop tells a story.
Absolutely. That's the one sign that your dog, may not be flourishing with the type of food you're feeding them. But man,
are dogs regular?
Yeah.
Now that's a crazy question, but most humans are regular. Most should be.
Well, dogs, yeah. And, dogs use their poop and pee a little bit different than humans. I mean, we wash ours down the toilet, but dogs like to leave their poop in certain areas. So it's a marker for other dogs. So when a dog smells,
there's method to their madness.
When a dog marks a pole, he's leaving his business card for the next dog. All right. So a dog can smell another dog's urine and tell what sex he is, where he is in the breed, if he can mate or not, if it's one of his buddies, if it's a new dog. When a new dog comes in our lot and he pees on the fence, every other dog goes over there smelling it. It's the new dog. So they're checking him out through the smell. Unfortunately, dogs eat poop, and, dogs smell nutritional value in poop. So we have to correct a lot of dogs for eating poop. It's nasty. Dogs roll in poop, right? So it's a masking behavior dogs do to kind of disguise themselves, I think. Or, who knows really why dogs roll in poop? Maybe they want to smell like the other dog. Maybe it's a way that they feel like they're dominant over the dog.
That is something dogs do.
Unfortunately, we have probably 5 or 10 dogs that roll in poop, and it is nasty. We have to hose them off, but it is tough to correct. And some dogs eat poop, but as a dog's a dog. I mean, they're all animals, but going back to feeding routine.
Glad we had this conversation.
I don't do any of those things, but I have seen it happen. But
but hey, it's the nature of the animal.
It is, and once you understand that, then you just take it as it goes. But pick up your dog poop if you're on the street. Lord have mercy, here in Charlotte, I haven't seen so much poop on the sidewalks. Please pick up after your dog. It can be nasty, and you can get all types of stuff from poop you don't want. But dogs use it as markers. Some dogs hold their poop till they get the star dog, believe it or not, and just blow it out up there. I mean, some dogs, they don't. Listen, they'll poop in all 4 corners of the dog park. They go to the back corner, poop, go to the other corner, and so what they're doing is setting up their own perimeter.
Yeah,
and the markers for other dogs. So again, smell, the number 1 sensory organ for a dog. It's just like us looking. Our sight is our number 1 for dogs. It's smell. So leaving a marker down for another dog really will help other dogs adjust to the new dog. And also they might pee on top of it. And the next thing you know, everybody's peeing on everything, which happens all the time. But that's how dogs function, through smell and scent oriented communication.
Right.
And so just like us, I can look at somebody and kind of figure out their status. Dogs do that through urine and poop.
Right.
And, we pick it up and put it in the box, and we put pulverized lime on top of the poop. It helps breaks it down. Then we cover it with another container. So we manage the poop and feces really well. But,
poop management.
You have to. I mean, you have 60 dogs times 3 piles of poop. I mean, that's a lot of poop we're picking up every day.
But I will say this to commend you. The cleanest facility
That's right.
I've ever seen.
That's right.
And
you
it
know,
is sparkling clean. It's not just clean.
That's
It's
right.
pristine.
There's no excuse to have a dirty, nasty kennel. And if you go into a place and it smells like urine and poop, they're not doing their work in there. And
you do not smell any of that
no.
every start off.
No, we clean every day, and when we pick up poop, we hose it down and we put it in the container where I said we have pulverized lime, and that helps breaks it down. And then inside, we don't have a lot of dogs free playing in there, but we scrub the floors and stuff. But yeah, you work it into your daily routine. And we have classes on Saturday mornings. We've got a class going on there right now, and so I can't have clients coming in and seeing nastiness.
No.
So we all work at that. And so we're pretty efficient. And once you work it into your routine, you can keep the place clean. There's no excuse to go into a facility and have it smell acidy and uriny. It's just really somebody's not doing their job or, being the right leader.
Right. Gotcha.
So cleanliness is important. And use your nose when you go in places, and you'll know right away whether it's.
Well, I used mine when I went to yours to check it out,
Yeah.
Because, you dealing with 60 dogs a day.
That's right.
There's a major poop component to that.
Yeah. And there's one thing I can smell is poop and urine. So when I go in and smell something, I know we need to hose that area down. So
right.
Just part of the job.
Right.
I
got you.
But you're right. Dogs use their poop and urine in a lot of different ways.
Gotcha. Let's go to the phones and talk to Uncle Red a moment. If we can. It's tough. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I've been enjoying your conversation for a couple hours or so.
Well, thank you, sir. How are you
No,
doing?
I mean, I'm doing great. I'm gonna tell you something right quick, and then I'm gonna get off so y'all can finish because y'all been on a roll since this morning when we started.
We ain't stopping.
My daddy told me something, and my daddy was born in 1893, and when I was a little kid, I guess I asked him, because we always had some kind of little dog when we lived over there, even in Charlotte in 4th Ward. But anyway, I said, why do the dogs always go up and smell the other dogs, but when they get around, they just go around and sniff and everything? And my daddy was as straight laced as you could be. He worked his whole life. Ran a locomotive for the railroad for 47 years. That's commitment to a job, is all I can say.
Right.
But anyway, he said, years and years ago, now you got to remember, I'm a small kid, but I'm asking a question, and I'm asking it because it bothers me. He said, the dogs had this big meeting one time years ago. And when they went into the building to have this meeting, the rule was they had to hang their sniffers up on the wall on hooks. Well, I'm believing every bit of this stuff. And he says, and they're about 2/3 of the way through the meeting, and the building caught on fire. And they all had to try to run out at the same time. And they ran out, and of course, they're just grabbing sniffers off these hooks on the wall. And they messed them all up, and the dogs didn't get the right sniffers. And from then on, through time, they're all looking for their original sniffer.
I learned something about dogs every day, and I didn't know that.
Well, it was a joke, but he was explaining it to some guy somebody was like 5 or 6 years old.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good story.
And I don't know where he got it. He grew up on a farm, and I mean, and then your buddy there, Ray, was talking about 3,000 acres. Well, they didn't have 3,000 acres of tobacco, but they had some tobacco allotments, which were worth a fortune back when he was talking about it. People used to brag if they had a 1.2 acres of tobacco allotment because it would make a lot of money. It paid the bills and stuff. But when he was talking about the dust, I've got a real good friend over here that grew up in the edge of the mountains, and they grew tobacco. And when the neighbors found out how good the sons were at cropping tobacco, riding that board behind that tractor in that dust, that's child abuse. If you're doing it, somebody would have you in court. But you're riding in the dust, and you're taking those first leaves off, because then when the other leaves come in later, they pull the tobacco off of most of it twice. But I was laughing when he said, yeah, we was in the dust back there with that board on behind that tractor. I mean, and he said he said it was bad enough having to do it for her father. And then the neighbors found out, and Daddy started saying, yeah, y'all can go over there and work for him. You know what I mean? It's like, God, we didn't need another job like that. You know, he's about to kill his own kids.
Right.
So, anyway,
and
but I've
that's
been enjoying it.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
I picked up on a lot of stuff, though. I mean, the guy obviously knows a little something about dogs.
A little bit.
But they're all looking for the sniffers.
That's right.
There
I'll see you
go.
later.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
But sniffers, you know, dogs have anal glands, and they through those glands they secrete smells, and different parts of their different times during their life they have different secretions. So when a dog smells a dog's rear, it's probably cueing in on something like that. And again, going back to being the smell, the number one sensory organ for a dog, they're exchanging information through smell, and the anal glands. Probably the rear area where a lot of stuff comes out. You know, dogs are getting information out of there. So again, it's a way the dog can understand where the other dog fits in the pack. Is he new? Is he a dominant? Is a dog I need to be worried about? Is a dog I can be friends with? And the way a dog smells usually signals the way their emotional state is. And so they can secrete through those glands pretty quickly.
Right.
And when dogs get fearful or they have a traumatic experience, they may what we call release those anal glands.
Yes.
And it is really horrid smell. And some dogs have to go into the veterinary office and get those things drained because they get infections in them.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. But I think that comes back from, the first dogs as they progressed in the world, millennia ago, they evolved, and some of them still have dew claws. Some dogs have a third or fourth paw, fourth nail, and it's called a dew claw. And some dogs will have, secretions through anal glands. But, we carry these things on from our ancestors. It's just another part of how dogs communicate, which is remarkable.
They've got a way down.
It's not unusual for dogs to smell butts.
I want to go back to the heat scenario, and you talked about the pads.
Pads of the feet.
Are all I'd say all homeowners. That's wrong terminology. All dog owners. I don't think they're aware of the temperament of dogs' pads. Does a dog react to heat? I mean, if you're walking a dog on pavement,
absolutely. Here's the rule: if you can't,
that's what I want to.
Here's the rule: if you put your hand on the asphalt and you can't hold your hand on the asphalt for more than 10 seconds, it's too hot for the dog.
Okay.
All right. So this radiant heat in the city is horrible, and so
it gets hot.
If you can't walk barefooted, don't put your dog out there. And if you do, walk them in the grass. But again, there is conditioning salve that you can put on your dog to help them stay soft, just like our working man's hand cream, which I use. But yeah, the dogs definitely feel a lot through their pads. But put your hand on the surface of what you're walking on. If you can't hold it down there, then the dog shouldn't be walking on it either.
Right.
And we forget that a lot. And a lot of times in the summer when I'm walking dogs out, I walk them quickly to the car, or I stand in the shade until the owner gets the car door open, and then we hustle them in because it gets really hot out there in the parking lot.
Gotcha.
But you really need to be mindful of your dog's pads.
That's why I wanted to bring it
if
back
they're
up,
chapped,
because
and
we're moving into summer here.
Yeah,
I don't think all dog owners are aware.
No, and they can get, just imagine, doing bear crawls on the asphalt for a couple of weeks. Your hands are going to be torn up, and the dogs. I've seen dogs with cracked paws and stuff like that, and that can be dangerous and
It's
uncomfortable.
certainly got to be painful.
But there is stuff called Musher's Secret, and there is salve on Amazon you can get for your dog's feet, and you apply it every day just like you do regular hand cream. And we are constantly doing that. And dogs sometimes have a couple layers of pads, so they may scratch their outer layer of their pad. It may come off, and underneath there's another pad. So there's probably 2 or 3 layers of padding on the dog's paw, so they can certainly handle a lot of rugged terrain. But you need to be checking your dog's pads and maybe getting their nails done pretty regular. That's important to do to keep them in shape so they can function on the terrain you're walking on, which is a lot of concrete in Charlotte and asphalt.
Right.
So
gotcha.
Important things to look at.
All right. Let's take a break here. Final break of the show. Come back and wrap it up. Got Andy Snoop Bunn in the house today talking Star Dog.
Lots of dog talk. Lots.
We're all dog lovers.
From two old dogs right here.
Two old ones, yeah.
You know,
roof, roof.
Hey, we're still in the pack, man.
There you go. Andy, Snoop, Bunn, back to you right after the break.
Find out more about the show? Go to our Facebook page, About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Owens Chimney Systems is known for all professional chimney services since 1989, including chimney cleaning, recommended annually, chimney evaluations and inspections, any and all chimney repairs and restorations, gas fireplace and gas fire log service, furnace cleaning, cleaning out one of the most overlooked appliances in the home. Get it done right the first time. That's Owens Chimney Systems at 704-554-9595. Or you can visit us online at owenschimneysystems.com.
Go outside and take a look at your home. Are the gutters doing their job? The number one enemy to your home is water. Most homes are built with small, inadequate gutters and small downspouts. ABS Insulating has a division of the company that does nothing but gutter services. All gutter services: cleaning, maintaining, repair, new downspouts, replacement, and new gutters with many types available. They're a leader when it comes to gutter protection. Call ABS Insulating today, 704-821-4343 or absinsulating.com.
Steve Helms here with the Al Metal Driving Corporation. The Al Metal Driving Corporation is a full-service driving company. Regardless of the problem, we can handle it. Does your clothes dryer take longer than 45 to 50 minutes to dry a load? If so, you need your dryer vent cleaned or checked. The clothes dryer is the most inefficient appliance in the house and should never take longer than 45 to 50 minutes. Call Al Metal Dryer Vent today at 704-846-8368 or online at almetaldryervent.com. That's 704-846-VENT. Have you cleaned your dryer vent lately?
Hi, I'm Sam Otero of AteroMedia.com. Someone asked me once what I love the most about my 30-year-long career as a media producer and educator, and I have to say the fact that not only do I get to create for a living every day, but then I get to teach and help others to use the content and gear systems that I've built for them themselves. Do you need professional live event video production or streaming services? You're in great hands with our family business. All 5-star Google reviews. That's ETTARO Media.com.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back. We were talking about the pause earlier about the heat, and Snoop here brought up something I think all dog owners need to know, be aware of, and that's environmental toxins to your dog, fertilizers, yard fertilizer, yard sprays, all the kind of chemicals that are prevalent.
We put on our floors inside, but dogs absorb through their pads. So they absorb and they perspire through their pads. They absorb stuff in their pads. So this time of year, we're doing a lot of yard treatments, a lot of sprays, and dogs are really sensitive to that stuff. And if you see your dog licking their paws or holding their paws up, you may want to check that out. Another thing I recommend to clients is when they come in from a walk, have a wet towel available at the door and just wipe your dog down from head to toe. Wipe their paws, their ears, their face, wipe their coat, and just make sure you clean them like that. Just a wet towel. It doesn't have to be a shampoo. But when dogs are out, like we were talking earlier, they're seeing 3 feet and down is really what your dog sees. So if you want to see what your dog sees, get on your knees and you'll see a whole different world down there. But really, we're walking our dogs, in an environment that's different from ours when we're up here. But they're smelling, licking, eating everything on the ground. So just be mindful of that. And dogs are resilient, and very rarely do I ever see them get really sick. But anything that you put down, your dog's probably going to absorb and smell and even lick. Whether it's floor cleaner in the kitchen or grass treatments or fertilizer, some of that stuff can be really toxic. And I think most of the landscaping companies around here know that, and they probably use products that aren't. But just in general, if you're putting, grass killer down and stuff like that, you definitely need to keep the dogs away from that for 24 hours. When we put grass killer down at our facility,
actually, Roundup shouldn't be used anyway. And we're going to talk next week, first hour of next week. I'm going to throw out the white vinegar weed killer recipe because it works.
Good.
It works.
Yeah.
Glyphosate, Roundup. If you're still using that stuff, why don't you eat a bowl of it? I mean, seriously, that stuff is a carcinogenic, it's poison, and it's one of the reasons that we're the health we are.
Could be.
Not could be, it is.
I'm guilty as charged on that. So maybe I need to get the white vinegar out.
Yeah, Roundup's terrible.
Yeah.
And I bet you've used a bunch of it. And I'm not, I'm
of
fussing
course.
at you because we shouldn't be using that anymore. Cause a runoff.
Yeah.
All the residual runs off when it rains. It gets into the sewer, it gets into the city. Every water source on the planet now has got glyphosate in it. So anyway, just don't use Roundup, please. It's horrible. It's killing us, whether you know it or not. Very, very, very slowly.
Yeah.
And it's a known fact now, okay? It's out. It's reality. I've been talking it for 14 years on this program.
Yeah. One thing I want to mention today is when you get your first dog or you get a dog, make sure you prepare your environment for the dog, having, your crate and your leashes and your food, have a plan in advance when the dog comes in, have a place where you can secure the dog, have a plan of action where you can walk them and exercise them, and maybe dive into what breed fits you best, whether it is a small compact dog or a large dog. If you're going to have a large athletic dog, you need to have a mindset of athleticism. I need to walk the dog, I need to exercise them, socialize them. Have a small dog that might be good for apartment. The Great Dane probably needs a bigger environment, so all dogs can adjust and adapt. I have a Great Dane that lives at the 7th floor of the View, uptown Charlotte, and it's great.
Which one?
He wasn't out there, but he comes over. His name's Buddy.
Is he as big as the one that was there?
He's big, and he lives in the 7th
Darn
floor.
horse.
But he can handle things because they have a good routine. They bring him to the club. But dogs adapt to any environment.
Well, I
Just
got a question.
I
got a question. On your plan. A lot of people like rescue dogs. They want to do a good thing and go rescue a dog.
That's noble.
And it's great. It's a great thing. But there again, there's a whole different approach to those rescue dogs, I would think.
A lot of rescue dogs probably didn't have maybe the mother involved, or they were passed around, or maybe they were born outside, or didn't have a lot of nurturing the first 20 weeks when it's important. However, the dog can overcome all that with what we call immersion therapy, where we put them with other dogs, give them a chance to relax, have some social time, communicate with other like species, and then start applying the same type of leadership principles. But I've had dogs come in that when I would say, whacked out. And after about 3 days of playtime, they start to normalize because they didn't have security when they were young and when they were puppies, when they were most important, right? Having their mama or somebody a secure environment to live in and not stressed. But dogs are amazing. They can overcome that. And I think kids and people can too with the right environment and time to observe and experience their environment. And for us, it's simple, putting them with other dogs and having them hang out with other dogs. It really is a key. And the other dogs will communicate, hey, everything's great. So socializing a dog is, man, that's important. And exercise. Then the leash training is easy, but you really need to have the dog needs to have social experiences because they want to learn, they want to perform. But if they don't get a chance to go out and smell the roses and meet other dogs, then you may have a dog who's reserved or a little bit assertive. And, that stuff you can work through, but it's hard to work with a dog like that who has, a nervous temperament or an assertive temperament.
Right.
I mean, we all want even-tempered dogs. That's why we like labs and retrievers, dogs like that. They're happy-go-lucky. They can take whatever comes their way and not reactive. But, some breeds are bred to be reactive, and it can manifest into problems if they miss social opportunities or if they don't get a chance to recover from the stress they had before they were rescued.
Right.
Or found out in the woods or
Well,
without
I
their
meet a
mother.
lot of dogs, and they say, "Oh, he's a rescue dog. He's a little shy. He doesn't like men." And all this, and
Desensitizing training helps with that.
gotcha.
And being in an environment with other dogs. So
Now I'm gonna ask a question that a lot of people I've heard through the years, and that's babies. You have a new baby come in the house, and everybody's real apprehensive
great
about
question.
how the dog is going to, acclimate or treat
Here's the
baby.
bottom line. In 30 something years of training, I've only had one dog that was reactive to a child baby. And the dog had a little bit of mental issues. But every dog I've ever trained and been around accepts the pack member in. Now, obviously, you have to set some boundaries up with the dog. If the dog hasn't had leash training, or he's on the couch or in the bed and he's the center of attention, you bring competition in like a baby.
Jealousy.
So you have to, again, I have two daughters. Skylar got attention. Ashton got attention one-on-one. Same with the dog. And as soon as the dog learns the routine, again, it's going back to a routine-based day. What happens during the day? And most dogs love children. They're inquisitive, and they may come a little more protective, but they like to lick the baby's face. They like to smell them, all those things that dogs do. And it's very, very rare that anybody will have an aggressive issue with a child. Now, when the child starts walking and running, and 2 or 3, 4-year-old and grabbing the dog and stuff like that, that becomes a management issue where you have to manage the child. Because, if the dog's laying on the couch and the baby runs over there and grabs him, it could create a startle reflex.
Right, a reflex, yeah.
And the dog could nip. And so that happens. But it really comes down to the dog not being prepared and maybe the parents not being able to manage the kid in that moment. But, again, I'm talking from somebody that has knowledge from years and years. So, but new dog owners with new babies, there's ways to handle that, and it's not complicated. But also you bring the baby's little toboggan home from the hospital, let the dog smell it before mom comes home. And here's a great tip: when mom comes home with the baby, dad takes the baby and mom interacts with the dog. Right? She comes in, she gives the dog time, then she holds the child, and the dog stays on the floor. And you slowly, the dog adapts, right? The dog wants to adapt. That's why we love them, because they adapt to any environment. Just give them a chance to observe, smell, and adapt, and try to really home in on the routine, feeding schedule, walking schedule, exercise, and the dog will be great with the child. And before you know it, they'll be out there playing in the sandbox together, making mud pies.
Right.
Right. And that's really all a dog wants. That's all a kid wants. Right. But it's not difficult, but you do need to have a plan of action so you don't disrupt your dog.
Gotcha. Now, how do people get in touch with Star Dog?
StarDogCharlotte.com. That's our website. I answer the phone. That's old school at my place. When you call, you get the owner.
Really? You answer your phone?
I do.
That's amazing.
Or text me. Obviously, texting's a great way to get in touch with me, and I'll call you back. But I definitely want to talk to the people on the phone. Then we'll invite you up.
Dialogue.
We'll invite you up with your dog. You drop your dog off for a few hours. He can play. She can play, and we can assess the dog and then give you some ideas on how to get involved.
On assessment, do you have a charge just for that?
It's free. Yeah, we want you to come in. There's no charge. I want to see the dog. I want to meet you. Your dog can stay for 4 or 5 hours, no charge. Then we can talk about some training protocols and how to get you involved in the club. I want you to get involved, the human.
Right.
I don't want to drop the dog off and train it and then hand it back to you. I want you to come in and participate. If you can't find a trainer that can do that, call me up, because we know how to teach the humans. And really, you need to get more than just one quick lesson. You need to come in and get consecutive and be committed to it.
Right.
And that's important. But all you have to do is reach out.
Where are you located?
We're over at the Music Factory. It's off Graham Street uptown.
Right. Yep.
Music Factory Boulevard. I got a beautiful.
Right off the 277 loop.
And Graham Street.
Yeah, and right off North Graham Street, right out of town, right out of center town.
I'm blessed to have a big facility in uptown, and it's helped a lot of dogs up there, buddy. I mean, we get about 270 dogs a week that come in, and 90% of them have been trained in our program, so it makes them a lot easier to train. They love it. The owners come in, and so it's a club. It's a dog club. It's for the owners and the dogs.
That's Star Dog, folks. Andy, thank you for coming in
My
today.
pleasure. I'm honored, Ray.
I appreciate you.
I'd
I
love to
really
come
do.
back again.
Oh, you'll be back again and again and again.
Let's do it.
As long as we can do it, we'll do
It's
it.
a dog crazy world.
Yes, it is. So, folks, go out and make it a great week. Andy's great information. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
And I hope the listeners got a lot out of
Reach
it. I
out if
certainly
you have
did.
any questions at all. I'm here to help.
Stardog.com. It's that
Right.
simple. Call him up
Well.
on the phone. Got to talk. And in the meantime, next week we'll have Plumbing Day on the show here. Precision Plumbing in-house. Bruce and his son, Chase, second-generation plumber. We'll hear their story and talk about plumbing. Make it a great week. We'll be back next week. More about your house. Spread some love. Get you a child, a mentor. PutToolsInSchools.org. We need your help. Volunteer and or donate. $5, $10, $5,000 works too. Whatever it is, I'll take it. That's PutToolsInSchools.org. Let's change some lives. We'll see you next Saturday.